to be back, boys.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah. Went by quick.
Mm-hmm. It feels like it's been an eternity since Sturgis, for me at least.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to believe, but yeah, it does feel
Especially
like
all the projects. I mean, all of us have had since even then. So.
Yeah, it's man, it's this. As soon as we got home, it was like this. All the FXR tour shit was like from all the other builders was just full blown, full force. Everybody's posting, everybody's seeing. Like in our little group chat, it's like every day there's like more progress on someone else's bike, and it's just created the hype. It's like finally Sturgis is over, and that was like the last big event between, a lot of the builders involved and like the Born Free Texas and the FXR Tour stuff. So now it's like the hype for Sturgis again, right? But no, I thought it'd be good to do this podcast with you guys to use it as a way to, it's your first time going to Sturgis. Mm-hmm. Your second time?
Second. Yep.
So, and, just kind of like we all kind of did it a different way, if you will. And I felt like it'd be interesting just going through the motions.
We were all spread out everywhere.
Yeah, well, we stayed together, but at the same time, like we did different things the entire time.
The amount of people that we knew that were there, you know, how they were all spread out.
Yeah. Yep. What are we drinking today, though, first?
Yeah, so this is Kentucky Owl, and if you know Kentucky Owl, it's they're a little proud of their whiskey, I would say. It's a little bit more pricey than I would normally like. So their bourbon is it's like a $200 bottle. They have a rye that's like $300 bottle, but then they made this for St. Patrick's Day, and it was a collaboration with their bourbon guy and some Irish whiskey guy. So it's like a mix of bourbon and Irish whiskey. And this one's like $100, but it's like, I actually don't like the $200 and $300 bottles. Mm-hmm. I think they're not as good, but this one I love. So
okay,
awesome.
Sweet.
Looking forward to it.
Kentucky Owl.
Who?
I didn't know they had like money-based things out there in Kentucky.
That's bourbon country.
They making money out there.
Yeah, the horses, dude.
Oh yeah, that's smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right.
Hadn't really been drinking, so we'll see how this goes. I got a headlight out too, so probably my luck I'll get pulled over tonight. Oh man.
Yeah, that's
dude. When we got Sturgis, right? Jumping around a bit, like I drank Winton's party. That was the last time I really drank, was that night. And then I tried to drink the following weekend at the Lone Star Camp out.
Yep.
Just so hot out there in the water, and then my stomach was just fucked up.
Yeah.
And so I had like a beer, and then I just haven't had a desire to drink it all, And it's like, it's weird because I've never in my life, since I started drinking at like 29, I've never gone as long as I just did not drinking.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's weird.
Yeah.
But
I was kind of the same way. Actually, Winton's was the only night in Sturgis I got smashed.
You got smashed. You were passed out on the couch when we came back to the house.
Yeah. But every other night, I just sipped on things. I didn't really, I didn't get too drunk at all. Well, then, when you're riding around, you just be a little more conscious about that anyway. But and then even when we got back, so before we left, I remember looking at the weather thinking, oh man, we're leaving Dallas. It's getting to be like 110 down here. We're going up there. It's going to be so good. And then like the 10-day forecast was supposed to be like cooler down here. Well, it just ended up being hot as hell when we got back for the next 30 days, basically.
Yeah.
So like to your point, when it's that hot out, like you don't want to drink a lot. At least I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm really excited for like darker October beers. Not like pumpkin spice shit, but like
Just a nice
that
stout.
seasonal stuff. Yeah.
The last two times we hung, you have the Guinness blues.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I need Guinness weather.
Yeah, I need Guinness weather.
I love a good vanilla porter, but you can't find those.
Oh, I've never had one of those.
They're pretty rare. I mean, only certain places make them, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what it was when we were doing bike nights at, what was it, Kelly's?
Oh, yeah.
No, Cannons.
Cannons. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dude, great place in the winter.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
Expensive, but
man, I thought I was gonna have to Uber home. I had the champagne and Guinness. I don't remember what they call that one. The rattlesnake. I think that's what they call that one. It's champagne and Guinness. I had one of those, and then another Guinness and one Irish whiskey, and I was like,
I like drinking that what's that one called, Jaden? The red Irish ale one?
Killian's.
Killian's.
Yeah,
Like
Killian's
that
red.
And Marcus, you got there a few times early enough where y'all did the toast with
where they ring the bell
in
Yeah.
Ireland. Yeah,
Yeah.
where it's
6 p.m. is midnight in Ireland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they would do what'd you say? It was a shot and a beer.
Yes.
It
Jameson.
was- yeah.
So the first time I went, that I had ordered, she set my drinks. So I'm a shot and a beer guy. So I order my drinks. And she's got them sitting there, and I turn around, and the bell thing's ringing. I'm looking around, and then there's 2 more. And I was like, "Wait, what's going on here?" Dude? I had to hang around later that night just so I could have some water.
Yeah. Wait for the cops to leave.
Yeah, because they'd sit across the street sometimes.
Yeah.
No, that place was. That place was a good winter spot, so we could have some indoor kind of place to chill and stuff. And the bike night spot now is just kind of like it's the best of everything so far. We got an indoor spot, we got a good outdoor spot, and there's a fire pit. So when it does get cold,
Right.
we'll have that going on.
Yeah, plenty of bike parking, and the food's really good. So
I'm gonna load up a bunch of wood in my truck though and bring it down there.
Yeah, they need it.
motherfuckers. Or keep this shit stocked.
Yeah. So when did you decide you were going to go to Sturgis?
I really didn't decide. I was invited. So Corey needed somebody to split the drive with him. Well, he had brought it up before. He's like, you should go with us. Like, for sure we have room to trailer your bike. And he had invited me. This was, I don't know, it was well over a year ago. And so as it got closer, and him and I started we were hanging out more and doing more rides together. He was like, "Hey, I got this perfect spot where you could go and you can actually just stay with us. If you just split the drive time with me, I've already talked to the hosts and they don't mind if you stay there." So it worked out in that sense. But
Yeah, because you rode down to Texas Hills with all those guys, right? All the people like Corey and Blanton and
let's see. Yes, yeah. That's where the conversation really, when he's like, "Okay, for sure, you have to go to Sturgis." Yeah. When we were in Texas Hills, I was having a brain fart for a second, but yeah. He at that point we pretty much had it set in stone.
And didn't that guy like marry a girl from Rapid
Yeah,
City? So
yeah,
like she's a local. So then now that's why they got a free house to stay at or something like that.
Yeah. Shane's wife is the youngest. I think of a family of 6. I think it's 4 sisters and 2 brothers. The family is like a prominent family in Rapid City. So her grandparents migrated there as minors, from my understanding, and then the dad. The grandfather was the first ophthalmologist in Rapid City. So he's got this really beautiful mid-century modern home on the top of the hill. There's a lot of history, family history. And so the oldest sister, Karen, that took ownership of the house when the parents passed, she's been remodeling it. And she lives there with another sister that's having a house built in Rapid City. But yeah,
that's dope.
Shane always joked when he ran that, when he met his wife, because he ran an ad on dating apps that said that you must have family or property in South Dakota.
That wouldn't be bad.
I thought it was great. I don't know, I couldn't wrap my brain around why you'd want to stay at Full Throttle Saloon, or so it just seemed like complete madness. I've never seen more RVs in my life. And with all the rain too, like when we dropped you off that Saturday, it was like, yeah, this is your stop, buddy.
Yeah, it was pretty gross out there.
It was nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like anything, man. Like you never know like what the weather's gonna do. And don't get me wrong, like I haven't really ever been to Sturgis and it didn't rain. But it just never would rain like that. It would be a storm. It would just dump for 5-10 minutes and then it's gone. It's sunshine. It dries up and back to normal. I've almost never ridden Needles without getting rained on.
Really?
At some point.
I was prepared for rain. We all brought rain gear, and if it rained, it rained. But that was what we rode into Thursday night, or drove through Thursday night, coming out of that sketchy reservation from Nebraska into South Dakota, and I was like, man, this is gnarly. It was so scary.
Yeah.
There's no way. I don't know how we would have done it on a motorcycle, and I don't know. I guess we'd have been on the side of the road trying to rig up some tarps or something to hide under, sit next to the bike, because we were out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
That's why, like, coming from here, there's like fast routes, like mileage wise, and might save you a few minutes. But the route that I always go is through Alliance and Chadron, or however you say that town.
That's where I think Corey was trying to take us, but Google kept rerouting us,
It takes you up to like Rosebud Reservation and stuff
where
like
we went
that.
to, yeah.
And then you're like on these roads where there's lots of, it's like an Indian reservation and there's nothing really on it. There's like random Indians just, they'll be out. Yeah.
Walking.
Yeah.
No shoulder.
No shoulder.
No. Yeah, so just reservation dogs and reservation dudes.
Yeah.
That's literally all that's out there. Yeah, we almost clipped one.
Yeah.
You know, so it's dark.
What do you do? Do you keep going?
On the mic, no, not at all. Not at all. You stop and administer 8, but yeah, wink, wink.
Yeah, and then also realizing that you're, you're just kind of on your own when you're there.
Yeah.
You know, we stopped we had to get gas. We stopped and got gas, and there was just this real, first of all, you know, I've been on lots of reservations, New Mexico, Oklahoma, lots in Oklahoma, a few in Kansas. Most of my life, just commuting back to my family's property in Kansas. But the level of poverty at this one was like, ooh, man, you guys have no gambling here. there is no gambling.
There's no resource up there.
No, and you know, like I said, at the gas station, it's like the record skipped when Corey and I walked in. You know, and especially with this expensive truck outside and all these expensive motorcycles, dude, I felt like we were a winning lottery ticket just floating through town.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, like I said, it just sucks that, like, some of them aren't, like, propped up close enough to be able to, you know, that whole deal. I want to say the casino thing, there was a company that would go around, because I used to work for this guy, Torres Empire, and his wife is part of the San Bernardino reservation and casino out there in, like, Big Bear area. Mm-hmm. And, like, they would have a company that would come out to a reservation, and they would actually do all the work to set up a casino there, and then take a certain amount of profit from that casino once it opens, and then leave it for all the tribal members to basically run and operate from there. So there's it's kind of like a startup company basically that would go around and do a lot of that stuff. And I remember, I mean, I don't want to misquote it because, you know, homie himself sometimes listens to this because he's on a reservation. He has a gas station on one.
Oh, okay.
So that's where he makes his money. He runs a gas station every day. And I don't mean to put your business out there, buddy, but, you know, my bad. But it's like another reservation over, or another tribe, they got a casino, and his didn't. And so it's like, it's so close that, I mean, I don't know if there was like, if it would make sense to have two casinos like that. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just so weird because in Oklahoma, it's like everyone has one. You know, everybody gets a casino. You know,
Look under your seat.
That's true. Yeah.
if you're on res territory in Oklahoma, it's literally everywhere you go, there's a casino. So, and our host, Karen, was telling me that they have really weird, I guess South Dakota has really weird gambling laws in regards to that. So, because
it's crazy. You go into Deadwood and they got gambling right there.
She talked about that. She said as a kid growing up, Deadwood was literally that. That was a nothing town. And then they passed, you know, they legalized gambling in Deadwood. And I guess, what's it, Billy Jack's, the casino that's there?
I think so.
Okay, that's that's a family member of theirs that owns that.
Okay.
So she was going into detail about how that town just came back to life. Because she said literally 30 years ago or more, there was nothing there. She was like, it was nothing. She goes, it still makes me, like, you know, kind of giggle inside to think that that's a destination spot for anyone. Like, why are you...
So the first time I went there, I was like kind of awestruck, and I immediately went home and watched all of Deadwood on HBO.
Right.
But then I found out that place has kind of like been burned to the ground or flooded to the ground twice already since then.
Yep.
Like the town's been completely rebuilt, so it's like nothing's really original there.
No, I mean, it looks... most of it does look like new construction. That's why I was like, well, nothing looks really super old here.
Yeah.
I mean, they kept the motif, I guess.
Yeah.
But... I mean, it's still really cool. Like, all those towns are really cool.
Yeah.
Deadwood's
like
Keystone, Deadwood. It's like they just all look like little mining towns.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was so you got to do some riding though, right?
We did 1,000 miles.
For real?
Yeah.
So did you got to do all the major like attraction rides and stuff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which one was your favorite?
If I had to, Needles was pretty epic, and we got fortunate because there wasn't a lot of traffic. So Needles was pretty cool. That whole day we had a really good rip that day. Needles was kind of the wrap up, and then we ended up at Sylvan Lake.
Yeah.
And that's where we met up with Shane and his wife. They got married there, and I mean, all of it. It's hard to pick a favorite. Corey and I had a great time when we went to Nemo and went to the Nemo Volunteer Fire Department and had breakfast that morning, and then went up through Spearfish Canyon. That was really beautiful. That was a great way to just kind of welcome to Sturgis, or welcome to Black Hills. Yeah. I didn't really understand the layout. You go everywhere and they give you those maps. Yeah. And so we spent a lot of time just sitting, if we stopped somewhere, just looking at the map, and you're looking at how it's all laid out. And so, it's pretty cool. Yeah, like you do 40 miles and then you're in another little town. You do 40 miles and you're in it. But it's so majestic is the only word I can use to describe the scenery there. And but Mount Rushmore, we did it all. Mount Rushmore, and we did that on Friday. Got caught in the rain, and then that was pretty epic. Mount Rushmore.
Which way did you go do Iron Mountain? You did Iron Mountain, right?
Yeah.
So did you do Iron Mountain from like Rushmore out, or from there into Rushmore?
So we did Iron Mountain Road. Monday, because we left on a Tuesday to come back. Or Wednesday to come back. So it was like one of the last good weather days. Mm-hmm. We just went out and rode, and we did Iron Mountain Road kind of on its own. It never let us. We never came out and ended up. When we did Iron Mountain Road, we ended up at Crazy Horse. That's all I could tell you. I followed Corey.
Okay, so you
probably north to south then.
Yeah, so that's the best way, because when you start driving through the tunnels, in the tunnels you'll see Mount Rushmore.
Oh,
What's the other way?
Yeah.
No, well, if you go from like the Custer Highway State.
Yes.
To Keystone?
Yes.
That's the way I'm talking about.
So I'm trying to remember.
But
it was either Iron Mountain Road into Custer State Park and then back out. I think that's what we did.
If you did that, because you probably did. Well, Needles drops you off right by Crazy Horse.
No, this was another day.
Okay.
When we did Iron Mountain Road, because we had run into Wes, and Wes was like, "Oh, you have to do this one road."
So you did Iron Mountain to Crazy Horse?
No, to Custer State Park.
Yeah, so you went the opposite
so
direction.
we went south and went down to Custer State Park, and then went through the actual park.
Mm-hmm.
The wildlife road, or whatever they call that.
Yeah, we saw 6. I mean, people would see like a few running in the distance. You had to have binoculars to see them, but I'm like, you can go to Oklahoma and see more than that. It's like, it's a beautiful park. I mean, the park is amazing. And dude, their porta potties there. I was like, that's the place to camp. We stopped and used one of their porta potties, like minty fresh, super clean.
I got a great picture of myself in a porta potty when we went to the show that day. I had a nice. It was only one porta potty. It was tucked behind this building. They had like a little wash station out there, so I just took my time. It's not the worst shit I've ever had, but it was definitely like you're in a porta potty. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And but yeah, that was great.
Yeah, we like I said, we stopped and I saw some of the RV sites that were in the park, and I'm like, this is where I'd be. Of course,
it's just far away from from all the other stuff. It's a trek every day to go be a part of things.
I would actually stayed in Wyoming.
For real?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have mind. Me personally, I wouldn't mind the drive, but I'm not.
A lot of people stay in Spearfish because it's kind of on the outskirts, and you have like a quick jump onto 90 or Spearfish Canyon.
I get that too, but even Rapid City was fine. I have no complaints.
Even thinking like when you're about to go or planning, I mean, you got all your hotels and you think of like the big ones, the Full Throttle, the Buffalo Chip, and those types of things. But even like riding some of these roads like Vanacker Canyon, and they have all of these like little campgrounds just off, like kind of tucked away off of there. I'm like, now I realize just how it can have 750,000 people here. Obviously those big places, but then you have all of these little ones tucked away.
Yep.
And that's all I kept thinking was, like, how many fucking people are here?
When you're riding down that road that goes from Sturgis back to Deadwood, and you're like, right when you get in the canyons, you'll start seeing like people camped up in the hills there, like right off the road almost.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, man. Like there's something like the times that we went out there and we camped at Days Inn. There was just something special about that. There was something special about the vibe and the feeling, and it's just something different. The house stuff is not a bad place. It's not bad. I mean, you got a lot of like all the creatures of comfort are there, right? Good showers, wash your clothes, all that shit. Don't have to deal with the weather, right? You have a rainy day, you're just in the house,
in the
right?
house all day watching Netflix.
But man, there's just something about like that, the Days Inn stuff and just being out there on the campground that I miss it, man. To be honest with you,
It was funny. Corey, we're that's the exit we would take off of 90 to get down into Sturgis, right? Is that the highway right there?
Well, there's 2 exits for Sturgis. There's the first one.
And then there's one by the campground.
Yeah, and the one by the campground is Lozelle Street, and that's where we would
that's
stay.
where we were coming in every day. We'd come in on Lozelle because Corey was like, we're sitting at the light, and he goes, "That's Jace's church over there. That's the infamous, Days Inn." And I'm looking at the campground, and I'm like, I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe like something in the woods, or no, it's just right there at the end of the main drag.
It's just easy access to everything right there, because you don't have to go through Sturgis to get to it. And it's Jaden stayed there, man. It's a fucking party, dude.
I mean, it has to be because all the people.
I got videos, dude.
No, I believe it. Because.
I was like, "Why are you filming that?" I was like, "To show my friends
for future generations."
My grandkids need proof.
Yeah.
I totally get it. If you're there for the party, and I imagine that's probably a big one right there.
Dude, so we got to a point. We stayed there twice, right?
Yeah.
I stayed there one time prior to that, but we stayed there 2 more times as like our big group, and we just kind of had a spot and we took it over. And then I remember the first year we did it. That's when like Wheelo and Justin, and King Tony, and everybody was there. So it was like a mini Fast Life camp out. And you remember Homeboy from New York, the guy that passed away?
I thought he was from Minnesota.
Was he from Minnesota?
Somewhere. I thought, but
because we'd be on the podcast like, "Hey, if you want to come camp with us, we're going to be at this campground." There were people that show up, and hell, didn't we meet fucking Homeboy from Colorado there? Ian, yeah. Like it was a great time, and like I said, it is you are passing up on a lot of amenities to go sleep on the ground and whatnot, but all of our wives would drive, so we load up the vehicles with we're glamping at best, right? The first time I stayed there with Jesse, we really camped there. I had sent my tent and his tent with a bike shop that was coming up there, and then I met them and kind of jimmied it on my back, and then we just left it there. Yeah.
What's crazy is looking at that campground, and then the 2 guys we rode with from FDR.
Those dudes are
Frank,
cool.
yeah, Frank and David. So when we were going out to Broken Spoke, Old City Park, they were giving us the whole history because they've been going out there for over 30 years. Mm-hmm. So he's like, this is where it used to be.
Yeah.
Like everybody just rode bikes, and set up all their tents in Old City Park. So they're telling us like how it got overrun, and then all the toilets being lit on fire, and this whole history lesson.
Yeah.
And then how it's just kind of, spread out and grown from there. But the location of that park, kind of in comparison on the opposite end of town to that campground, was just kind of a little ironic, it just looked like it just literally switched.
Yeah, and I haven't released the Michael Lichter podcast we did yet, but we talked about that because back in '79 when he first started coming there, it was just City Park. That was where everybody camped, and then there was races and hill climbs, and that was pretty much Sturgis, and everything else was up to you to figure out what you want to do. There was no full throttles. There's no concerts going on. It was just come here and party. If you want to rent a house or a hotel, they had those too, but most people camped. They went to the bars. They went and rode the hills. They went to the races. That was Sturgis, right? And then it got commercialized, and we kind of talk about that a little bit because he started – that was like 79 into the 80s was kind of the end of that more grassroots Sturgis experience before it got super commercialized and became, these big, Buffalo – like the Buffalo Chip dude, I think he gave me a little bit of story, and I really couldn't tell you everything word for word because it's been a while since I listened to what he was saying, or the podcast, obviously. But he just saw an opportunity to basically, people were already camping on his land.
Right.
And so the guy that owns the Buffalo Chip, who's still alive today, was like, fuck it. I own all this. I'm just going to turn it into something. And now Buffalo Chip is kind of like its own city.
Dude, it is wild. That place
it's on the fucking Google Maps when he's
It is so nuts. Those were, they're like literally like landmarks. It's like when you go there, it was just really hard. I've never seen so many RVs. It literally looked like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, dude. Just.
Well, it's one of those things, no matter where you are in the country, on your bike, in an airport, whatever, you see a guy with a Harley shirt or whatever. Not long after, talking to him, you can both, bring up Buffalo Chip, and you know what the fuck you're saying.
Yeah.
You each have a story. You have a shared experience of, exactly the spot he's talking about, and vice versa.
Yeah, it's I didn't realize how big that place was, and then
Full
the
Throttle.
new Full Throttle
Yeah.
Saloon where they that
insane.
place. Oh my! I'm like, they have bridges as decor, a bridge.
Yeah.
That's just my decoration.
And a semi truck in like the main bar.
Right.
Would you say though, like the group made the camping experience? Would it have been the
no.
same with just like 4 of y'all or something?
No, it
like
would have definitely been the same, probably better.
would have been better.
Well, I mean, the first time I camped there, it was me and my brother, and we camped next to this old man on his FXR that I've told the story a million times on the podcast, but just for the sake of comparison, this old man, he's 70 years old. He was on an FXR. I was on the gold FXR, so we started talking. Mm-hmm. This guy made friends with some guys through work, and they all rode together to Sturgis in the 90s, like early 90s, and they went again like sporadically.
Yep.
Then they all kind of went and moved to different parts of the country. 20 years later, they wanted to do their last ride to Sturgis together, so they all met up from different parts of the country in Dodge City and
cool.
rode to Sturgis together, and then outdrank me and my brother under the table, right? And telling us stories of their friendships. I mean, the same thing that we do when we talk about like our group and our bike night and our travels together. They were telling me this, and it was just, to me, it was the most fascinating thing in the world because it's so relatable, and it's like it's kind of like things that maybe we have to look forward to, like in our own world, right?
Sure.
Because we're in our 40s. You're still young.
Almost there.
What's 20 years now later look like? Are we going to get our last Sturgis ride at 70 years old? You know what I'm saying?
I hope. I hope I still have maybe 5 more after that before I'm on a trike.
So, I mean, to me, that experience was pretty amazing, and it was cool to do it with my brother, and don't get me wrong, like, that next year in Sturgis was, or the next time I went with the group, because that was 17, and then I skipped 18. 19, I went with Steve Chamberlain, and then 20 is when we went as a big group, and we did our big trip was on the back end of it, right? So we did all Yellowstone and all that. Being able to go there with all my friends, like, to me, it's like it's an experience whenever you get to be with somebody for their first time, right?
For sure.
It's almost like a shared experience of, it's like I'm kind of like living off their enthusiasm again. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was cool. But the bigger your group gets, the more overwhelming and whatnot it can be, because, if it's 3 of y'all and it's just y'all 3 or 4 or 5, then everybody's stoked and everybody's on the same level. But then you start adding all the old ladies into it, and then the guys are kind of like they're having fun, but then his chick's not having fun. So it's like there's that, and there's those dynamics. So
Yeah. And you just, anytime you get a pretty big group, I mean, we had a big group this year, and it was one of those things where not everyone wants to do the same thing.
Right.
And you just got to realize, or you just, as that group, you just got to be like, listen, like, if you guys want to go do your own thing, go do your own thing. It's
Yeah.
not going to affect my time. I'm going to go have a good,
Yeah.
I'm going to go do what I want to do and have a good time with it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
as long as you have that mentality going into it, if you go into it with a big group thinking like, oh, we're going to do all this shit together, like, no, you're going to have a miserable time.
Oh, yeah.
Because no one's going to agree.
yeah. So your first year was last year, right?
Yep.
Had you gone to Daytona before?
Oh, yes, I did Daytona and Sturgis in the same year that year.
So what were your kind of like, if you can remember back to like the ideas of what Sturgis was going to be last year for you?
Yeah.
Because you had a Daytona experience before you had a Sturgis experience.
Yeah. And Daytona, I mean, I still like Daytona for the ability to go see everybody and have a good party. But you're not going there to ride your motorcycle. You could absolutely go. The only shitty part was, like, if you ever want to, like, go from Main Street to Broken Spoke or Iron Horse, like, you can Uber over there. It's not that far, but it's much, that's the nice part about, like, having your bike. Outside of that, there's no other reason to have one at Daytona. So from that standpoint, it was that was actually my first big rally was Daytona. So, like, I look at it as pretty favorable. But then going to Sturgis, that was a whole other experience because, and I lived in North Carolina, so, like, I got the ride in the mountains when I lived there, so I at least had that to base off of. But when you go up there and, North Carolina mountain riding, great roads, but you're not, like, you're only seeing your tunnel vision, for pretty much the whole ride, which I like that, don't get me wrong. But when you're riding the Black Hills and you're looking out and you're seeing all those fires or whatever those things are called, the needles basically, or like all the big rocks.
Oh, yeah, the
that are-
spires, yeah.
Spiders, yeah, whatever those are called. I don't know.
Dude, I didn't. I
It's-
didn't
It's
know you could
crazy
see
how
that far.
different, like, it's crazy how different, like, needles, the kind of almost like monuments is what they are.
Yeah.
Compared to, like, not even a few miles away is Iron Mountain, which is another mountain road, but you don't see that same kind of terrain
No,
almost.
you feel like you're almost in the Pacific Northwest when you're on Iron Mountain Road.
Absolutely.
And that's, I was like, did they film Twilight here? well, there's just a lot of moss, and the trees are definitely, they're different, just different. Yeah, really bizarre how much the terrain changes. And even going out to Devil's Tower, we went out to Wyoming to go to Devil's Tower that one day. Yeah, seeing how the terrain changed out that way.
So I've only ridden the 2 years I've been there. I always ride Needles and Iron Mountain Road in the same day.
Yeah.
And I've only gone north to south on Needles and then south to north on Iron Mountain. This year I wanted to do it also the other way, but the rain kind of screwed that.
Mm-hmm.
But since I haven't done it the other way, but I am biased to your point where when you're coming up Iron Mountain Road and you're looking through those tunnels and you're looking right at Mount Rushmore as you're coming through, you see it twice through the last two, I think
Yeah.
you see
So
it.
that's going south. That's going north on
I
Iron
believe
Mountain
so.
Road.
I don't know the directions, but I just know it's like when you're moving into it because it drops you off right by Mount Rushmore off of Iron Mountain.
It sounds like you went the other way.
Yeah, we went south because we went down into Custer State Park.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know that's where you could see Mount Rushmore through the tunnels.
Yeah, because the way you would went, I mean, you can still see it, but it's basically behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that road's so tight, I'm not using my fucking mirrors. I got my vertigo fucked with me real hard on a couple of those corkscrews.
Well,
Oh yeah, the little spiral
Yeah.
ones. Yeah.
and to that point, like going back to Needles, I mean, I'm glad you're not really taking that road too fast because you are so like caught up in everything around
know.
you, and then
Yeah.
you get those massive hairpin turns and stuff like that. So
Yeah, we would usually like once we go through that little tunnel.
Yep.
And if you're going
Needle's Eye or
towards
whatever.
Custer and not towards the lake,
yes,
so you're going away from the lake, you can literally put it in neutral and coast all the fucking way down.
Yep.
Till almost the whole way, but right where that little hole in the wall little thing is.
Yep.
Hole in the rock or something like that. Right there, you got to start thawing it again. But for the most part, you can coast down the whole thing, especially if there's traffic. So
right.
But I did Sturgis before I ever did Daytona. So, and I'm guilty of this in so many ways, and I've tried to like preface a lot of conversations with this. It's like it's hard to not go into other events within the same world of events without having the same expectations, right? So.
Yep.
It's like I went to Daytona expecting it to be similar to Sturgis, and it just wasn't.
No,
So it was
not
kind of a
even close.
disappointment, right? And obviously, there's no mountains there. Well, you just, naive. Oh, there must be something else equally amazing about being here. And I just, personally haven't found it yet, right? I get the party aspect of it, but when you party all the fucking time, it's like,
I could do this. Lots of places.
And it's super cool to ride the coast, but I mean, 10 minutes of that, and you're like, okay, this is enough. So
Well, it's like Galveston.
Yeah,
If you go down there for
same.
the Lone Star Rally, I mean, it's a great party. It's a freak show, but I mean, that's most rallies, right?
Yeah,
So if you're going down there to ride, it's like you do the beach a couple times, and then that's it. It's
you
you're
gotta
like
clean the salt off your bike.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Should have rust quick.
Oh man.
Well, so from last year to this year, what did you want to change about your experience coming from last year to this year? Like,
Yeah, so I've only done like the big group and staying in the house, and it's been good each year. But like, it's one of those things where, we're definitely getting to that path of where the same people we invite back every year type of a thing.
yeah, you start to find your clique.
Right,
The
'cause
same
they're-
thing Witten and those guys have done.
Exactly. I mean, there were people from the first year that we didn't really jive with going into the next year. So like they weren't in the house this year, and then. I think we got pretty close to the right crew going forward, as long as everyone can make it, type of a thing. And obviously, I'm sure there'll be some other people that go next year that want to, stay with us or that type of a thing. So, but we were out past Lead last year, which is still a beautiful spot, brand new home. But if you want to go there's no quick like, oh, I'm just going to go do this ride real quick. I mean, there you could do Spearfish pretty fast, which is great, but you're not going to go hit Needles real quick. You're an hour and 20 minutes from there type of a thing, just to get there. And then even to get into downtown Sturgis, it was about 45 minutes, you know? So, us being in between Deadwood and Sturgis this year was, that location was phenomenal.
That place was
So
rad.
what I was looking, and it was a little bit different this year because we were bringing Lauren's bike. So this was going to be a little bit more of we're going to actually take time to like show the bike off a little bit more. And so we went into this Sturgis with showing the bike off, and that went well. But at the same time, wish we could have did a little bit more riding, you know, like, and because like the best days was that Monday.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we were at a bike show all day, which was fun.
Well, technically that Monday we got rained out that night.
Well, that afternoon we did.
That afternoon we got technically the best day was Sunday.
Sunday was
That's
good,
true.
though.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, and two, I have always chosen to go like the Tuesday before. So we actually got 2 or 3 days of really good riding because it didn't rain until like that Thursday or Friday, I don't think.
Yeah.
Friday maybe. So we had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of solid riding. So I actually hit every main road. But like I mentioned, the first year I didn't get to knock out the Badlands, and I didn't get to go knock out Devil's Tower, and I still didn't do that this year because of the rain. So those are the bummer things that I wanted to accomplish. Now, you know, in future years after I do those, will I go to those places? Probably not, because they take a while to get there. But I got to do it once, and I was kind of bummed on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that was you know, Corey, I mean, he just likes to ride.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, and he's an early riser like I am, and then we weren't doing a lot of partying, so every morning, and you know, our host was up early making breakfast, so it was like we were on the bikes like 7:30 in the morning, and you know, and it was we're not coming back until, you know, we'll be there in the evening. You know, we'd get home when it got dark. So we wrote, you know, it was just trying, where can we go and, you know, kill time all day, and the only show that, you know, he wanted to go to was the FXR show, which thank God we had good weather for that.
It was perfect weather.
Oh,
Good.
my
It was
God.
cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun too. It was a little surreal. You know, the riding is epic. You know, totally. You know, like if I could have, like, if the situation was you only get to ride for 7 days out of an entire year, you know, and you can pick that where you want to do that riding. That's for sure one of them. Like, I mean, that place is incredible. But to be that far away from, you know, from Dallas, from home, and it really didn't. Sometimes it didn't feel like it because it's like we stopped at Black Hills on Friday, and it's like you're running into everybody at Black Hills, and then it seemed like every town we stopped in when we were out riding, we'd run into somebody, either somebody Corey knew or somebody that. So it's weird to see this sprinkling of all the people from Dallas that were there, and.
I always love stopping in Hill City to grab lunch and just like have a few beers before you go knock out, whether it's Needles or Mount Rushmore. Like that's a fun city in my opinion.
We hung out there 2 times trying to wait out the rain.
Yeah.
It never happened, but
It never ended, you mean?
No, it never stopped. No. And we did that. When we went I wish we would have had better weather when we rode to Devil's Tower. It didn't get nice until we were on our way back, and we stopped at the Stone House. But, you know, because I felt like the scenery would have been a lot better. I'll take that back. There's a country club that we stopped at in, Gillette, Wyoming. It's right before you get to Devil's Tower. It's like one of the last little nice towns before you get to Devil's Tower. I can't remember if it's Hewitt or Gillette. But anyway, they had this country club. And so all these homes are kind of up on this bluff, and they overlook, well, you got this nice view of Devil's Tower in the distance. And then, you know, you kind of overlook the town. And so we went up there and had lunch with Frank and Dave. And just beautiful, man. Absolutely. But I wish we would have had. That's when the sun started to peak out and the rain started to dry up. But we were already on our way back. When we were at Devil's Tower, it was, I don't know, right around lunch, and it was 53 degrees. We had abandoned rain gear because we're looking on the phone and looking at our weather apps, and it shows no rain. So Frank pulls over. Hey, you guys want to put rain gear on? It's already starting to like drizzle. No, I think we're going to be fine. And we made that other, you know, hour-plus drive into Wyoming and just got soaked. And so we're sitting there at the little gift shop in front of Devil's Tower trying to cram down a bunch of hot coffee and dry out. And we stayed there, I think, for 2 hours before we just said the rain's not going to stop.
Just go and do it.
Just go ahead and head back. And of course, it dries up when we head back. By the time we made it to Stone House.
I think it was Friday. It's Friday or Saturday, but we because we ended up at One-Eyed Jack's, and because it was like we got there at noon or something, 11:30, and it said it was going to clear up by 2 or 3, and we're like, oh great, we'll just sit here, have a few beers, and then we'll get out and go. Well, then at 3 o'clock, now it doesn't stop till 7 o'clock, and it just kept moving back. We made the best of it. I mean, that group that we had there at One-Eyed Jack's in that corner, I mean, we just ended up getting smashed up there. But
was I there with this one?
You were there for a little while. Remember, Trey with those old ladies with their titties hanging out? That picture? They had the painted chests.
Oh, yeah.
Like the 3 or 4 like old,
old ladies. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really.
I think that was the one night that I stayed out all night with Trey. Because that was Friday night. That was when y'all came in. And
Saturday.
I slept all day because it was just.
You had just gotten up when we got over there around 2 o'clock or something like that.
It was just raining all morning. I had the window cracked in that room, and I was just like, man, this sounds like one of those ASMR things.
Yeah, I don't blame you. There's no reason.
Yeah, it's the rain's going. I was like, well, I'm not going to fucking ride anywhere.
Yeah. No. No. There was. You had the right plan. That's all Corey and I did was just drive to downtown Sturgis and then just go see Tony and just kind of pop in. And there's that sandwich place that's right next to where Tony's tent was. So we went down there to go see, because like Roach's is there, and then there's a little tent in between Roach's tent and Tony's that we're making sandwiches. Corey's like, we have to eat here. That was like a destination. Like we have, he's like, we're gonna eat here. It's a little family out of St. Louis, and
talking about camping out. Did you hear how Tony had made his employees sleep on air mattresses inside his tent, like his booth?
Really?
At night.
I know, but that's awesome.
And Gino had his old lady there, so it's Jake, Gino, and his old lady all sleeping on air mattresses inside that
downtown.
That would be an experience, though.
I would do it.
Well, so what Jake said, he goes, I got everything like mapped out from a schedule perspective. He's like, and I'm going to be kind of making this up a little bit. He's like, 2 o'clock, the bar's closed, so everyone starts walking home. But 2:30 or 3, the cops finally get finished arresting people, and then by 3:30, the street sweepers are coming through. So he's like, we basically get no sleep sitting here.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Oh yeah, no, and then another one in there too. Then all the tow trucks have to come through and pick up all the bikes that were left, and then the street sweepers come through. So he's like, by the time they actually can like get sleep, it's like 5 or 5:30 in the morning.
It's like a normal camp out.
Right.
Yeah, but it's forced on you.
Yeah, it's forced.
Yeah. I don't know. I can sleep through anything, so noises and stuff like that that doesn't bother me. You can be doing burnouts right next to my tent, and if I'm tired, I'm out. Yeah, have fun. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, there was nothing to do. I mean, Saturday was.
See, have y'all haven't ridden any of like the Yellowstone? Not yet. First off, everybody needs to know Yellowstone is not a destination to ride a motorcycle. Just get that off the table. Mm-hmm. There's things around Yellowstone that are amazing to be a part of on a motorcycle, but riding your bike through Yellowstone is just kind of a waste.
I assume it's like going through any other state park.
It's 30 miles an hour. There's minivans. Everybody's looking at anything that moves in the brush. Mm-hmm. You're not getting far. If there's a buffalo or a bear on the road, good fucking luck ever getting past this. It's like it's just not designed for what you want to do on a motorcycle, right? So, but Red Lodge and Beartooth Pass and Cody, Wyoming and the Tetons and West Yellowstone and all that stuff, badass, right? So ever since that year that we went and did that, it's almost like that's now what I need to get off. Like I need to go to Sturgis and then I need to go do something out west.
Go out west.
Yeah, I need to go click Red Lodge or do Big Sheep National Forest or something out there. Like it has, I have to have a thing. So that's kind of what I wanted to do this year. Was I was planning on trailering up and then riding and going to do all that stuff on the back end of the trip, and then it just kind of turned into what it turned into. Like I'm gonna go ride up and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but
you basically flipped it. And that was what was cool. Going to your point about as much as you like to see people their first time, the British people in the house this year,
yeah.
and like before they got there, they were asked because they were like made a whole adventure out of this thing, and they're like, oh, you know, we're gonna rent bikes from Milwaukee.
You got to
to
do it in the
Sturgis.
accent. Do it in the accent.
I don't even know if I can.
I can't.
Yeah. But anyway, they were asking me, we want to ride then from Sturgis to I think L.A. or
Pretty much SoCal.
and then fly out from there. Like, what should we see? And I'm like, I would go do Beartooth Pass, then go to Salt Lake, see the Salt Flats, and then come down through Zion and into Vegas. And they did that, and it looks like it was an awesome time.
Yeah, I mean, there's like out that way. You know, we were talking one night. We were hanging out. I think the night we stayed to watch the fight, the Jake Paul fight, and we started talking about routes. And I was like, man, like, it's really hard to get. Like, you're not from here, and you're kind of like trying to jam the American West into a road trip, and you only have X amount of days. And if you even do that, you're missing a million things. But then if you don't do that, you're still missing a million things. Like, you can literally just close your eyes and point and go that direction from Sturgis. Go any way west, southwest, west, even south-ish west.
Right.
You know, and you're going to hit some really amazing shit.
Yeah. So I think next year, going back, and I've already been thinking about this. The past 2 years, I've done. The first year, I think I was there 9 days, and then this year was 7. But I think what I'm going to do going forward is just do a long weekend in Sturgis, like maybe Thursday night to, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then take off from there and go ride that really cool stuff out west.
Yeah, dude, it's bro, it's the shit, man. Even if you can find a way to like drop a truck and trailer in Sturgis somehow, and then go spend another week going west and then come back, bro. Or even like maybe drive up, drop a truck and trailer in like Denver, then go to Sturgis and do a big loop around it. It's a shit, dude. It's so badass.
Because even like this year, that 7th day, I was like, it's time to go home.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's about the max. Like, I could want it. The people that work that, I don't know how they do the 2.5 weeks there or whatever it is.
I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, just think if the weather was perfect, I mean, you'd be more tired. Like, you'd just be more worn out from every night having something that you could go do. And for me, like, every year, Sturgis becomes more and more of, like, obligatory things instead of, like this year, the only thing I got to ride was spearfish with these guys on Thursday. And we still got wet, you know? And then Friday, I don't know what, I think I put it in that blog or whatever that I'd written, but when we got to the Boar's Nest.
Yep.
I had every intention of going to like Deadwood and getting a steak somewhere, and then I was like, man, I'm fucking just tired. I'm just gonna go to the house real quick because I think we jammed out together, right?
What do you mean?
To go to the house, like we left the Boar's Nest together. Didn't we go somewhere? Or go to Sturgis?
We went downtown Sturgis from there.
That's right. And man, I was tired, man. I know I went to bed like super early on Thursday night, and I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. So I'm like taking a shower. I shaved my head. Still nobody's up in the house. So I'm like texting Winton to see when he's waking up because he was right around the corner, and it's like 7:30. He's like, "Yeah, we're up. We're all having breakfast." I'm like, "Cool, I'm coming over."
Right.
So it was, and then it just started raining all fucking day. So
Dude, I'm miserable. But what do you do?
That's the old saying, though. Like, a day on the golf course is better than a day in the office, or like a shitty day on the golf course is better
I heard
than
when we were at Winton's house. That was that Saturday night.
Sunday night.
Sunday night was
Sunday
the big
night.
party. I heard that said several times when we were there because I mean, I wasn't gonna complain. I'm like, yeah.
how late did y'all stay at the party?
Well, I don't know. We probably left when it got 9:30, maybe.
Oh,
10.
That turned into a rager.
That turned into a rager that night.
Yeah.
The one time Big Will Baggers came into play for a good time. I think Corey Souza turned on the music. It was kind of winding down.
That's what I thought when we left. I was like, well, first of all, it's like, I don't want to.
Yeah,
that's a
to go.
haul for us
Yeah.
to go back to Rapid City.
True.
So I mean, that's
like 40 miles.
40. Yeah, it was a 45-hour drive. And it's in the dark, and I'm not familiar with that area, so.
The deer is probably only really super bad until you get out of the canyon.
Right.
Once you get to like 90 or something, like I'm sure there's still deer out there, obviously, but
Well, we kind of just would hug in behind a car, and
Let the car hit it.
or yeah, that was the theory. Yeah, we'd get behind an 18-wheeler and just tuck in behind an 18-wheeler, and thought, well, we'll let them hit it first. But yeah, I was just late at night and just being sketched out, not wanting to be tipsy or anything like that, leaving there, and it felt like it was kind of dying down. So, and Corey's not gonna, he's
not a drinker. Yeah.
So I was fine when we left. Like I said, I thought, and then I started looking at all. I can't remember if it was the next morning. I think it was the next morning. I started looking at all the stories, and I'm like, Jesus, what happened after who broke out the Adderall, dude?
Yeah, exactly.
So I was taking pictures all night, and so I didn't really drink much after. Like I had a couple little of the margaritas and a little bit of whiskey.
You seem tired. You just seem like, I'm just hanging.
I started pulling out the camera, and next thing you know, this music came on. Everybody was dancing. I was just taking pictures of everybody, and it was just cool, man. Like what was cool about it was not just like usually the last couple of years it would be like our group would still be there drinking and eating, and then everybody that lives there, except for Scott, was already asleep. Scott's just hanging out with us all night, right?
But it's still like a chill. Or
Yeah,
at least
it's
the
been a
year
chill.
before it was like you're still partying, but it's a chill, like just laughs
Yeah.
type of a thing.
So they had mentioned something about next year they want to do like a DJ because it was such a fun time.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna get a foam machine. And
Well, as long as they'll let us
We
have
have
Toga party.
We happen to know a DJ.
Oh, Black Cat.
well, as long as they let us have a house there again, we'll be in that neighborhood.
Yeah, dude. So it was crazy because the house we stayed in, like the cleaning. So how you can explain it better, like the lady and the whole situation there.
So the lady that I went through is the same. Like I actually met her at Winton's house. She's like the property manager of the rental company or whatever, and super cool. And she's even been super cool through this whole process. So like definitely kudos to everything from that standpoint. But shame on myself. Especially it rented in my name. I didn't when we got there. Didn't take a video of the place, and then didn't take a video or pictures like when we left. So when we get back. And actually, like the night before we left, I mean, we went through and did a big cleanup, took out all the garbage, like did a really good job of making sure this was like now, yeah, maybe the next morning you have a little bit of trash and whatever, but just from like, everyone taking a shower, getting ready, whatever. But anyway, a couple days later, get a text from her saying like, hey, just want to let you know, the cleaning lady said like this was like left in just absolute terrible condition. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about?
Yeah. It was,
and she started
did
like
somebody stay there after you?
there were a couple people
yeah,
still
but
there.
it wasn't. Yeah.
But it was like we left at 6 a.m. They were leaving at noon. So like it was just getting ready, them getting out to their flights.
All the towels were already like washed and pretty much folded.
Yeah.
We pretty much cleaned the fucking house. We should be getting the goddamn money.
Yeah. So anyway, but then they like the main thing that they got really hung up on is there was a stain on the carpet, which she's like, do you remember seeing this? I'm like, no, I don't remember seeing this. And especially like what they explained, it didn't sound like anything that we would have done anyway, because it was like it was like from the back door to the garage, and none of us were like either way, it doesn't matter. But the big thing was the hot tub cover was like bent up, and I looked at a picture of it, sent it to you guys, and thankfully she's like, oh yeah, we had the owner come over and like we just bent it back down and bent it into place, and they're fine with it. But the only thing that now is, she's like, yeah, we did the carpet cleaning she's like, I think it's like $300. I'm like, okay, just let me know exactly what it is and I'll pay it. But it's just one of those things where I've tried to mention to her, like, we will make this right. Like, this is not like what like we would ever do. But she did acknowledge to me that like the cleaning lady that did it can be over dramatic. So like basically she took 95% of the laundry list of claims and like threw those out and just came down to like that carpet cleaning one. So, but still, like that's just crap that you got to deal with.
Where was the carpet need to be cleaned at? Which was it, a room or just in the living room?
They said that there was a stain from that in the main floor from that back sliding door, like going towards the garage, that hallway. And I'm like, nothing would have. I mean, we grilled twice, and like we wouldn't have gone that way.
No, you'd have gone right into the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and if someone did go that way with a drink and spilt, like it wouldn't make a stain.
Yeah.
Like, so
On the main floor, so like where the dining room and the kitchen and all
Right,
that,
right.
out
Yeah.
to the garage. I thought that was
Yeah.
tile.
not right there, like in the kitchen and the dining room area, but like
I thought it was tile all the way, or wood all the way out to the back door.
the hallway wasn't, and then
okay.
back to the thing. But
Yeah.
like once you got into that room, it was. But
It sucks, man, that you'd have to, you have to really, CYA on, on something like that.
Yeah, like the video probably before and after would
Yeah.
make sense, but I don't know. They were kind of. It seemed like a little over dramatic to the point where it's like, what's the point of fucking going somewhere if you have to do all like 90% of the cleaning so that somebody can come in here for these outrageous cleaning fees to tidy up what we've
Well-
already done? I feel like if the way I leave a hotel room is the way I want to be able to leave an Airbnb.
yeah, well, and to that
You know what I
point,
mean?
you're already
Yeah, to just leave
Come on the wall.
painting the wall white.
But 3 towels that you can hold up and fucking.
The towel is now the ironing board.
And I didn't go back and look, but I know we paid at least a $200 or $300 cleaning fee in advance.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so if you had to take out another bag of trash and you had to like scrub something a little bit harder, like who fucking cares? Like
Yeah.
you're getting paid for that already. So, but
Yeah, the cleaning fees on the Airbnb shit, it's maddening because I'm like, look, I get it. I'm sure some of them get completely trashed, but you're right. I mean, to your point, you should be able to get an Airbnb and like, yeah, I left the beds unmade because you're probably going to wash the sheets.
Yeah,
and
I understand. Like, don't put holes in the drywall. Don't burn the carpet.
Right.
Don't fucking break things. Right. But at the same time, if people are coming in every fucking day, who's to say that handle on that fucking that hot tub was just waiting for the next hand to try to pick it up before it was done at that point?
exactly.
Right. So it's that like, when do you just apply like use to it and wear and tear?
There's like a depreciation point to it.
depreciation, yeah.
Like it just happens over time, like whether it's mistreated or not,
Yeah.
it's-
man, and then when you have that many people, there's like everybody take pictures. Everybody.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like then I've got to go like, does anyone remember doing this? And everyone's like, no, and of course I don't think anyone in our house
Right.
did it, but
Right.
still, it's like one of those things I gotta go back and play all that stuff. So I was like, if you're gonna get a house, make sure you take videos like when you get there and when you leave, because like they also tried to say like, oh, there's towels laying in the yard, and I was like, bullshit. I was like, I know, I walked around
Maybe
the
some
house.
microfibers or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. So, and the only thing I told the lady is like, because she's like, oh yeah, there was food left in the fridge. I'm like, there might have been like some, we left like some beers and some sodas in there, and I purposely left those because I thought the cleaning lady, like, well, I'm not taking that shit home. So maybe the cleaning lady or the next people like would have some use of that. So I go, I'll own that we left unopened like cans of whatever in there.
But why the fuck? Like, at this point, like, if I have to do all this,
Right.
then why the hell am I having to pay for all this stuff?
Right.
Like, I don't, like, when I leave the extra fucking 12-pack that I couldn't drink in the hotel room, I don't know what happens to it. I assume it goes to the front desk and they drink it, right?
Right, exactly. And then I sat there and thought to myself, I'm like, Wenton's house cannot be in immaculate condition. But then I was like, they probably also pay another cleaning lady to come in before they do. I'm like, that. I could
dude.
see them doing something like that.
That was overwhelming walking into the front door of that house.
Dude, that view of the back.
Did you come in when it was still daylight?
No. Well, no. It was. Yes, it was.
So
It
you
was-
could you could see out the back window.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what we like to call dusky dark. But yeah, you could still, because that's the first thing that, of course, I'm saying hello to everybody, and Corey's like, dude, look out the window. And we're like, this is insane.
Yeah.
But I was still amazed at the spread in the kitchen. First of all, the kitchen's like, that kitchen looks like it shit my kitchen. I mean, that kitchen was huge. And then, I mean, I've never seen so much stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, it looked like the Last Supper. There was so much alcohol and so much food spread out all over the place.
I like going over there and raiding their snacks because they always got,
Dude.
like, the best snacks. So I have I love donuts, which are the powdered sugar
Yeah.
donuts.
Yeah.
And they just always have a bag of them. I'm
Cinnamon?
like, no, powdered sugar. I had those at the gas station just now before we.
The cinnamon ones?
No, the white powder
Oh,
ones.
white powder. Cinnamon's
White power. I was gonna say white power or white powder.
When we stopped, God, where were we? Oh, yeah, when we were taking you out to
Buffalo chip.
Buffalo Chip. Yeah, and you were
Dude,
like,
I was shitting bricks. So let me tell you how that went down. So we're sitting I wake up, I come downstairs, you and Corey are at the house. And I'm like, all right, I need to go to this thing at the Buffalo Chip. It's raining outside. I don't really want to ride my bike out there. And you're like, we'll take you. And I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. That covers one side of this coin that I got to figure out. Trey, if y'all going to go to downtown Sturgis, right? Yeah, we're going to go down there again. Cool, we can just slide through and get you. I'm like, sweet. I guess I was having a hard time charging my phone the entire trip. Like, my cable was just not really working. So I had like 40% battery life when we left. Man, after talking to everybody and I guess my phone trying to find signal the whole time because you're kind of like not getting a good signal out there. By the time it was ready to go, I had like 5%. So I'm texting Trey. I'm like, hey, so what's up, man? Are y'all in Sturgis? What are you doing? He's like, oh, we decided we're going to go to Deadwood tonight. I'm like, so can you come get me? He's like, and it was just kind of like a no response for a minute. So I started looking at what do you call it? Ubers, right? And there's not a lot of Ubers there. Rapid City, yes. Sturgis, Spearfish, no. There was a kid going from Spearfish back to Rapid City, saw my thing after like 20 minutes, right? It was on there for 20 minutes. I'm just sitting here thinking like, I'm going to have to offer somebody here $100 to take me at least to Sturgis. Right. Just so I can find a way to get back. I was like, how do you hail a cab these days? You know what I mean? Like, and I started thinking like, could I walk it? I'm like, dude, you're too fucking cool to walk. So last thing I need to do is somebody like fucking screenshot Fast Life Jace walking down the. He doesn't have enough friends to come pick him up from goddamn Buffalo Chip, right? No, that would never happen. So finally it clicked and the guy came through and ended up picking me up. I was just shitting bricks, man, because I thought. And then the thing was only 20 something bucks, like $24. So I tipped him $20 just for saving my ass in this situation.
That's all the fare was?
It's only $24 to get from. It was only 10 miles.
Yeah, but he drove. You're saying he drove. He was over like.
He was leaving Spearfish, going back to Rapid City, and when he was passing Sturgis, when he picked it up. So there's another dirt road. If you pass Sturgis, like in between Rapid City and Sturgis, there's a dirt road that'll take you all the way back to the Buffalo Chip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, and I remember like we were all sitting at the house, and Trey was saying, "Oh, Jace needs a ride," but he's with Marcus and Corey. And they're coming back this way anyway. Like, oh, well, you'll just hop in with them. Like that's like what Trey said.
Dropped me off. So, so the idea was I thought that I'd be able to get you guys in, and I would have been able to get you past the first checkpoint. The second checkpoint is where like they literally was like paper and pen. So that first night of that show is all like industry invite only thing, right? Industry, it doesn't matter. There's people that are not in industry there. It's just invite only. If you don't get the invite, you can't get in on that situation. And basically, it's like the show that's available to the public for the rest of the rally, just that first day is for only people in the industry. That way, everybody can kind of network and talk and, you know, do things like that. So I met some real, I mean, like I said in that little blog I did, I got real lucky, and Michael Lichter kind of took me under his wing because this is the first time he's been at essentially his show without having to curate it and run it. So we walked around and we talked about, dude, it was invaluable lesson, right? Just being able to listen to him get his ideas on photography and shit. I met Sugar Bear, you know, had a conversation with him. The people that run Progressive motorcycle insurance, I'm like, yeah, dude, Progressive, baby. Let's fuck with each other. Not even like I already use it. Like it's just it'd be easy transition. Just pay me for the podcast. And then
we'll get you a nice logo right here.
Yeah, Progressive Insurance.
well,
yeah, can't take care of my guys here, but
just don't have Flow anywhere associated.
Dude, you better watch out. I love Flow.
You love Flow? What?
Dude,
Flow can get it.
Flow can get it, dude. I may or may not have Googled Flow lookalikes for porn. Yeah. She was in a movie with what's that? Ben Stiller, the Heartbreak Kid or something like that. She was in that movie.
Was she really?
Yeah, she was one of the, but she didn't look as good as she does in the Progressive outfit. But anyway,
the more you know.
Right.
Hey, we all got our vices.
Yeah.
So no, this other guy he introduced me to, his name's Dozer. He was a custom bike builder, and he started giving us stories on when he was on set for the Bike Riders film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the you've heard about the film,
Yeah,
right?
mhm.
So the funny thing about this whole situation was when we were in Austin,
Yeah.
we were at the White Horse, me,
Yep.
you, Jaden, and Kyle.
Kyle, yep.
We went down for the racing thing down at Cowboy Harley. And randomly this chick was like, "Oh, you guys are bikers? Y'all heard about the new Bike Riders film?" And we're like, "What the fuck is this?
Yeah,
like,
what are you
what are you
talking
talking about?"
about?
And which remember that girl was kind of like,
She was like out there, and then but she worked in the film industry, like as a, like I don't know if it was makeup or something.
Something weird like that,
Yeah.
And this is the same film that, like, what, Was and Milburn did all the work for with the motorcycles? The same Tom Hardy, right?
yeah,
I mean, that's him. So yeah.
So Was did a lot of, Was is the one that told me, he's like about working on the motorcycles, and then Milburn, his involvement with it, with
for real?
providing some of the bikes and
yeah, it's all
some
gonna
of
be
the-
period correct.
Yeah,
stuff,
some of the stunt riding, and so Was would know more. I know he talked to me about it. This was a while ago too.
Damn.
It's
So
one
we
of those
heard about it
things-
in December.
Yeah.
Now, I guess so. When I did the podcast and I went to Lichter's house, I spent the entire day with Michael Lichter. His whole house is like a motorcycle museum of books and memorabilia from a lot of things. So he has like an original, a first edition Danny Lyons book, which is the Bike Riders movie is based on. He has a first edition, a first edition print from one of the photos in the book from Danny Lyon, right? Danny Lyon's still alive, but he's, old. This book was like written in the 60s. So when I left his house, I had this overwhelming like want to read, right? And Corey's been up my ass for years about like, if you read more, you'll be able to like speak better and articulate yourself in a more effective way. I've always wanted to write. I've been talking about it for years. And so a lot of things in this Sturgis trip for me culminated into like creating this new narrative that I'm trying to spin for the next year, right? And so when I left Lichter's house, I ordered the Danny Lyons book, the Blue Todd book. Let me tell you guys right now, if y'all want a good fucking like photographic, but still some words to kind of give you context, it's from Blue Todd. Todd Bluebaugh is the guy, but the book is called Too Far Gone. Fucking amazing, dude! I cried a little bit.
Did you already finish it?
You could do it in an afternoon. It's not like a heavy.
Okay.
It's not a heavy read, but the whole thing about it, dude, it's fucking an amazing book with photography, great shots, and like literally the things I don't even want to talk about that, but it's a blueprint for some things in the world that I'm interested in, right? And dude, it's just like the more you know about what took place and why they did this. It was the guy that we were listening to the podcast. The host of that is the guy that wrote this book and did the book. And dude, it's fucking badass. Like regardless what kind of bike you're into, it's more the human aspect of the bike stuff, right?
Right.
And so leaving Sturgis, like I just did all this. So I even got like and I feel bad for saying this, but I just never really been into reading, right? I've always done the audio books and stuff like that, but I'm finding because of my, I guess, ADHD and dyslexia and all that shit, like I have to be very, very interested to stay connected to something. And so for a while now, I've been able to just stay engaged and read stuff. So I read the Danny Lyon Bike Riders book, and it's literally photography on the front half, and then it's just interviews of some of the people from the book. And they're interviews, so it's like same way if we did a podcast, you're just hearing an account from somebody, right? So there's a lot of like the way things are kind of written is kind of hard to read sometimes, but you get the gist as you go through the book, right? And so that's what this movie is based loosely around this. Of course, they're going to dramatize it and make it for movie, right?
Yep.
So that's Dave actually brought it up. He was like, "Hey, so do you think that they're going to do justice to the book for the movie?" And I'm like, "Well, I had to really think about it because that book's very synonymous to a lot of people that are in the more reading side of things like that. I don't think that the book as a read is enough to make a movie out of. I think that they have to take the concepts that are presented in the book and put more storyline behind it to turn it into something that would be, palatable as a movie, right? And so the recent, I think, did you post the thing recently in the chat where they were talking about the
What the plot is.
well, the plot, but also the fact that like they've showed it at a couple different. I don't know if you did or if I saw it somewhere else, but somebody else posted or just wherever it was. It's getting rave reviews to the point where obviously there's a writer and an actor strike right now, so that's why you're not seeing anything about this book or this movie. But apparently there's like Emmy nods towards some of this so far.
I saw that it just was played at like a Colorado Film Festival or something like that, and historically any movie that goes there has like failed miserably, like even like the reviews of people that go there. But they showed it just recently in Colorado, and like everyone came out just raving about it, which is completely different from what normally goes through that film.
The thing is, if this movie does well for our world of motorcycling, dude, it could literally, the next 10 years of motorcycling, it could change the landscape of the world that I work in, right? The world that we live in and kind of, have fun in. Because for one, a great motorcycle depiction on film takes all those people with money and they lean into it. It's a superhero thing. Like, shit, superhero movies are in. Let's fucking find some more.
So go pick up all the old bikes right now before the movie comes out. Because you're gonna see that value skyrocket.
So I don't know, man. I'm excited for it to come out. I think that it's gonna do a lot of good for just motorcycling in general. And I heard through that podcast, that Todd Bluebot podcast, is Blue Toddcast is what it's called. That they're in the process, because he does a lot of stuff with Jason Momoa and all that shit.
Right.
He's in there. I think they're in the process of taking this book that I was just telling you guys about, The Too Far Gone, and turning it into a movie. And if that was the case, that would be the fucking shit. Because as a read, it's so much easier to read his book because it's more current times and it's more written in a way that's understandable versus the language and lingo of, I guess, the beatniks of the 1960s was, a little bit harder to kind of comprehend. But I think I was telling you about it, how like the dudes would like take their child, like the bike rider dude, the Benny guy would be like waiting for his old lady to get her child support check so he could take the money and go drink it away at the bar and shit. Typical biker shit, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, this whole, like, it just kind of exposed me to another world of the motorcycle. I wouldn't even want to call it the industry, just the history and culture of it, and how like that book inspired a lot of other people to kind of create stuff. And then the next book I'm about to read is that The Zen Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's fucking this thick. It's not even going to be that hard to read, but apparently it's more of a philosophy on life than a motorcycle book. But I don't know. I got like 6 books that I've already ordered that are sitting on the shelf waiting to go to kind of read and kind of understand some of these parts of our world. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome, man. That's. Have you ever seen Corey Reed in person? Like, have you ever given him something and like, hey, man, check this out, read this article or whatever, and have him read it in front of you? That dude reads at light speed. I thought he was joking at first. I gave him something to read, and he's just like, just reading out loud.
Yeah.
Go so fast.
We get it. You're good. You see the words for what they are.
I felt like I was watching
I'm that
the
dude in
Matrix
school going,
I'll read an entire chapter and I will read every word, but then I'll get to the end of the chapter and be like, now what did I just read?
Yeah.
Because I don't like retain it if I'm not interested in it.
So yeah, that's the thing. It's the interesting. It's like, and I think I was talking to somebody recently, like just out of whatever, I was like, there's so much stuff in the motorcycle world that already exists, but it's all there for you to find and consume when it becomes applicable to where you're at in motorcycles. Not to place it on some kind of pedestal like, oh, I'm at the reading phase of motorcycles and you're still down here on YouTube. Like, not that.
Right.
It's just at some point we all get to a point where like, this isn't doing it for me anymore. Mm-hmm. I need some other connection that feels a little bit more earned, if you will.
Another fact too about going back to the bike riders real quick, that film festival, just to get into it was like $5,000 ticket. So think about the people that can afford that and whether or not they normally like motorcycles or not. And the fact that they all came out, or most people came out saying that's going to be a great flick.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks volumes too of most likely a Denver-based crowd, $5,000 a ticket, liking a motorcycle movie.
Well, if you're gonna make a movie about anything, even if it's like based on like a more subculture, you have to find a way to take that and make it palatable across all audiences, not just the one it's about, right?
Yep.
If you took The Outsiders and you made it, I guess that one's kind of more made in favor of, the outcasts, if you will. It's like you got to have, I don't know, like you have to make it palatable for people that don't live in that world. So it's got to be something that kind of like makes it understandable or relatable to some kind of way. And so I remember once I was in a shop and this guy was talking about how, Sons of Anarchy, this is like in the height of Sons of Anarchy. And he was just like, it's all fake. It's just like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, of course it's fake. But if it was like, it has to be dramatized and put on that level to be entertaining across the board of everything.
For sure.
Like, if it was completely accurate to the world of our motorcycling, then half the shit wouldn't take place and it wouldn't be as entertaining to the people that don't ride, right? I mean, you would have to have some fucking dude on a Dyna trying to fucking do tail whips off jumps and stuff to, you know what I mean? Like, it's not real, but it makes for a better, like, viewing or whatever,
For sure.
I don't know. Just like that movie, The Warrior, right?
Yeah.
Like, who the hell's going to go to an MMA fight and fight 3 fights or 4 fights on like a tournament kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And in an MMA, just get beat the fuck out of, right?
Like round robin and
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that movie did well in the theaters, but I guarantee you, I fucking enjoyed it watching it.
If it's on anytime, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies. If it's on, I'll watch it. Yeah.
That part where his dad's like spun back out again off the that's tough.
I am the warrior. Well, but I thought SOA was just one of those things, and maybe it was the time period when it hit. I always liked his documentaries that he did were, were
The outlaw
great.
stuff.
Yeah. So when this came out, I wasn't a big, like the motorcycle. It was all, it was a lot of West Coast club stuff. The style and flavor, it was a lot of West Coast club stuff. So it seemed kind of foreign just because of what we were used to here in Texas. I mean, everything here was low. Guys did have big motor stuff, but everything here was low and slow. Stretched and style. Everything was about style here. I mean, that was the motorcycle scene here in Texas. It was like, you're riding a pig. So I'm just going to have like the loudest, most decorated pig I can have.
Yeah.
And so when you get to see that, when that came out, and of course it was cool, great writers, and it was all based off Macbeth. And I thought it was, you already knew what to expect at that point. So,
Yeah.
And it was nice because the motorcycles became the backdrop. They weren't the focus, they were the backdrop for the story.
Yeah.
You were there for the story, and if you were into motorcycles, like you could
It was
geek
like
out
an
on
added
those.
bonus, yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh, they're on the new street. They got the Rushmore bikes now.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be funny to see how people geek out on this one.
It was funny. So the dude Dozer, he was telling us some stories because he was like one of the extras bike riders in the movie. So was Oliver Peck. So I don't know if I think I was telling you the story last weekend, right?
Okay, so this is that movie then that Awas was talking about. This is that movie.
So he said that 2 things with Oliver Peck because it got brought up in the conversation, and he goes, yeah, so they're shooting this whole thing on film, right? It's on like film, not digital.
Okay.
So, and a lot of some movies have been doing that, like the Christopher Nolan one that just came out, Oppenheimer, is all film.
You're right.
Some of I want to say that like even that Winning Time, the Lakers show that's on HBO is kind of all done in film. That's a great fucking TV show if you've been watching.
That show is so rad. They got Larry Bird on the fucking nose because that's the basketball I grew up with. So it was Larry Bird, and I had that game on Commodore 64. That was my first PC, and we played the shit out of that little floppy disk game. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, man.
Yeah.
That was the shit back then.
The race war.
Yeah. Horse shit.
But so he was telling me the story. He goes, so we're filming and it's all on film, so you just can't, they're trying not to have a bunch of takes because it just costs so much money. And they said, how he goes, how Oliver Peck's always got that toothpick in his mouth, right? It's like they let him have it. He was able to keep it in the movie, but he dropped it while we were riding around the corner. It fell out of his mouth. So he stopped in the whole take to get off the bike and walk around and pick it up off the ground and blow it off, put it in his mouth, and keep going. We lost a whole take for that, right? And I was
Should've
like,
kept it.
yeah, it's like, and then he said there was this other time where they were walking up to like this house where they're greeting some other bikers, right? And so everybody's shaking hands, blah, 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 and then Oliver just puts out his fist to fist bump him. And this movie's based in like 1965, 67 or some shit like that. So it's like they had to retake it again.
Right.
And it was just like funny because like his accounts for it, like, because that was like I said, if you look at the I think the actor list, it doesn't really say like their names on it,
right?
Because they were literally just extras in the movie. But just that account for it, and the fact that they had real people in the motorcycle world in this thing, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't even know about a Was and Milburn having anything to do with it.
Yeah,
you know
next time you see a Was, hit him up. He'll fill you in, because he was like, oh, I wish I could remember the story in depth. Like they were filming somewhere. He kept telling me about it.
I think they did most of it in Cincinnati. I don't know if,
but
yeah.
you know, if people give the chopper scene, you know, like we will, maybe us in the motorcycle community give a lot of chopper kids a hard time, but you know, God bless that community, because they're keeping that particular style of motorcycle and that subculture alive.
Oh, and it's thriving.
Yeah.
It's not just alive; it's thriving. But well, it's thriving in the subculture sense.
Yes, yeah. So you know how dedicated. It's no different than, let's say, the rockabilly. You know, which I thought was always so awesome, because I was like, oh man, these cars are going to live forever. You know, the Gene Winfields and you know, all these guys that I always read about and looked at as a kid in magazines. Like, you know, well, we're going to have a culture that, well, now, like, most of those guys are my age or a little older.
Yeah. And
the next generation could give two shits about any of that. So you're starting to see that peter out. Like if you look at attendance for, you know, Viva Las Vegas or the Lone Star, it's starting. It's not like what it used to be, you know, 10 plus years ago. But the chopper scene is, I mean, it's alive. You're, like I said, to your, you know, what you were saying, it's alive and well. And this movie might be the shot in the arm it needs. I mean, it's not like Born Free didn't do that enough. Yeah. You know, you look at knuckle prices or any vintage price of motorcycles, you know, pre-Born Free, and then you look at it after, what it's done to the price of motorcycle parts. Ugh.
Yeah.
I can only imagine when this movie comes out, what it's going to do.
Well, back to Sons of Anarchy, if this does good enough, this may help traction for that first 9 prequel, with being, you know, they want to go back and do about when they started it, which would all be period piece bikes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way Hollywood is, like I said, they see something works, they're going to go, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the investors want to make sure there's an audience for it, and if they know there's an audience, they'll make it, right?
Yeah. It's like the zombie shit that came out. You know, like once, I don't know if Walking Dead was the first one, but once that did so well, then
Z Nation,
all these other ones.
As long as I don't know, they're going to do whatever they want. You know, there'll always be somebody there to criticize. What I'm just waiting I'm sure there might be things that we see we're like, wow.
Well, they got a hell of a cast.
Yeah,
that's the thing that's going to help that.
It's a serious movie, so it's not like a Lifetime movie like it's going to pass straight.
It's
over.
not a CW show.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I asked my buddy that I went to high school with. He's an actor out there. He does mostly commercials. He'll do like some like movies from time to time. But I was like, hey, did you even audition for this? And he was like, no, I didn't actually know about it, but I don't probably fit the biker vibe. I'm like, Austin Butler's in it. I mean, and he actually didn't even know about it, and he looked it up, and he was like, oh, dang, this is awesome. So
yeah.
Because he rides a bike in L.A. He has a bike out there just to ride to and from everywhere. So
just give him some year-old Levo 501s and a dusty-ass white T-shirt.
Yeah, as I say,
comb the hair the right way.
Yeah.
Well, so like you might hear. Think about like. Let me ask you this: like, it kind of has to be the nostalgic bikes, like, unless there's like something that really took place. Like, say if Waco, the motorcycle shootout thing had like more of a backstory to it, to where it could lead into something like that, then you could have a movie with modern bikes in it, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But like, you're not gonna see a movie coming out any fucking time soon with performance baggers being the fucking, you know,
No.
what's going on. It's like
No.
the nostalgia of like the chopper world is what kind of creates the vibe for these movies to kind of have something, right?
Right.
Even if it's like, you know, the things that are like, it becomes like, if you take a picture of a performance bagger, right? And I'm just speaking from my own like experience here. It dates. It's like got a time frame of when it existed, or a lowrider ST, right? And this is not me talking shit about the bikes, right? I love these bikes, but if I'm trying to make like art about this bike to last for 50 years, I don't know. Like, you never know what you're doing now that's gonna be that thing in the future that was like that trend, that transferable or that transformative time, right? You know, the people that were doing this shit in the 60s and 70s with choppers, they didn't know that they were creating something that was going to be what we look at it today for, right? So how do we really know that what we're doing right now isn't what's going to be for somebody later on? So that's kind of why, like even with my chopper, you know, suspension chopper that we're doing, it's like I wanted that vibe of a chopper, but I want to do my thing. I don't want to like completely live in the shadow of the past. I want to be able to leave my own mark on something that I liked about it. So, you know, one of the things about vintage choppers that most of the people in that world do, and I'm not knocking them for this, is that they want to make it time correct, period correct, right? And that's dope. I just, you know, as somebody that's literally spent my entire adulthood customizing motorcycles, I just can't allow myself to just copy what was already done from somebody else and not take my experiences for the last 20 years and put them into a bike and use some styling cues, but still put my thing onto it. Does that make sense?
No, yeah.
So
Look, there's no explanation. There doesn't need to be. I mean, everybody likes different shit. And there is a subreddit for everyone. You know, like, if you're into fucking Pontiac Aztecs, bro, there is a community out there for you. So,
dude, could you imagine going to one of those fucking like meetups?
And imagine how mad those guys got after Breaking Bad went big. And that fucking
Can't even
car-
appreciate that car.
Yeah.
what's I think the thing with when people think of Harley Davidsons, that's the image. It's the Marlon Brando or the, you know, the.
I went back and watched the Wild Ones. I'd never seen it. I watched it like a week or two ago.
It's been a long time. I watched it with my dad as a kid. It's been a long time. But, you know, people have that image, or they have Easy Rider. You got to think of it, these big Hollywood productions that you know, this was the backdrop for that particular story. And that's what people see. I mean, they don't see, I don't know. It'd be weird. Maybe at some point, there might be. I mean, we have SOA, but, you know, I don't know. Is there going to be a movie where, you know, people wear helmets?
Biker boys.
Biker Boys, yeah.
Biker Boy, yeah.
Well, if you like, you know, because a lot of those movies like Easy Rider and Easy Riders and like the Wild Ones and stuff like that, that was kind of about like Wild Ones was kind of about like the Hollister situation, right? And Easy Riders is kind of like just a play on the culture of what choppers were. But it wasn't really until the like late 70s and 80s till it got dangerous. I mean, motherfuckers got beat up and shot here and there, but when drugs and real gang type culture got into motorcycle club stuff. So like, if you go look on YouTube, some dude in a bandana, like right here in his eyes, is telling you he's the TMZ for the outlaw goddamn club world, right? And you look at their videos and it's through the roof, right? And it's just like, the people that don't ride love it because of the edginess, the crazy, like like almost like that real shit outlawness still exists. But I think that you can connect with more people if you can kind of peel back the layers of the onion of what it really feels like to get out on a motorcycle and travel with your friends or solo or things like that. It's just the package, and I haven't figured out how to like present this to the world, but anybody that does it, like, they get hooked. Yeah. You know, but most people never try because they think about like, oh, well, I finally got to Sturgis and it rained on me, or it was hot, or it was this. But when you're like indefinitely on the road for a set amount of time,
That happens all the.
Right.
it changes your whole like perception of like good or bad.
Right.
Right. And it's always going to be hard. It's hard to like tell somebody that has a trailer, that has the money to get a hotel and do all this stuff, to do these things in a more roughneck kind of way, when they don't necessarily have to. They can kind of enjoy like the more finer things of that, right? And I'm not mad at that, but I just feel like if you actually travel, obviously all these things are like, it's got to be at the right time in your life where it just hits. Like when the first time I took Jesse across the country on a bike, like I didn't think it resonated with him. Like he did it, and Mike said it best on the last podcast. He did it to please me, if you will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you do it and it's something that you connect with, like you're on the wavelength to be a part of it, bro, it is goddamn addicting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, was it 28 days under the sun?
Sky.
Or
28 days later.
That's after the camp out.
It's 21 days
20
under
is
under
the
the sky.
Is it what?
Sky. Yeah, I think it's
Oh.
sky or sun.
Sky.
21 days or sun or sky.
Pretty sure it's Sky.
Is it sky?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was sky.
I don't know.
It's definitely not sun. It's either stars or sky.
Okay.
It's gotta
Either
be
way.
Sky.
Either way, that was watching those dudes.
Under the sky.
Okay,
Jake's right.
thank you. Watching those dudes tool across the country on these little cobbled bikes, and it was like really thinking about the traveling aspect. And I don't know that just wasn't the Harley. That just wasn't the Harley scene that I was introduced to.
Same for me.
The Harley scene for me, well, especially here in Texas, was maybe you go to hill country and you tool around, but it was you had to have this ornate pig that you just took to different bars and showed off. And
You and I come from like the same area
Very
of motorcycles here in Dallas.
Yeah.
We come from the world of custom stuff.
Yeah.
So the custom choppers, the custom softails, custom baggers, and our world never really was about traveling, and not to downplay it at all.
No,
Like this isn't
no.
a us versus them thing.
No.
It's like, to your point, like we just like, it wasn't until I started looking outside and these other inspirations came in that I wanted to travel on a bike. It was all about, how bad can you make it? How bad can you keep it clean?
Yeah.
And then let's go show it off and let's win some
Well,
trophies or whatever.
When you had your big wheel bagger, we'd beat at Quaker Steaks.
Yeah.
And,
remember that, yeah.
and oh my God, you'd watch Jason, like his group pulling, you're like, fuck, dude. Well, because there would be so many sick motorcycles
Yeah.
there. It's like, it's not like, it's not like any of us had like junk.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody had really nice shit. So, it was just this parade of amazing bikes that are coming in, all completely custom. And, if you were anybody, it's like going to Strokers. If you
The
were,
song that I played every time I go out, I got to show.
But I mean, that was literally,
Yeah.
that was the culture that I was baptized in.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, we would take some little trip. We went to Fort Worth, or we went to Hill Country,
Yeah.
or or you went to you rode to Galveston.
Yeah.
But that outside of that was it. I don't think it was until like you started doing the camp outs and going up there, and it was like, oh, I get it. This is pretty dope. Like just putting gear on, but it was that movie too.
Yeah.
You,
That
when
movie
you-
changed me.
Yeah, for sure. It changed me too. And then actually doing it, like I'm going up there on this stupid ass old Softail Vikla, and I've got camping gear just to go hang out with my buddies. Like I didn't even care. I just wanted to go. But then it's like traveling on this sucks. So you're the machine that you decide to travel on, like, oh, I totally get it. Like, this makes sense. I just need to be comfortable to get to point A and point B and be able to camp and hang out. Will it carry all my gear? Will it do the job I need it to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care what it looks like, really, as long as it's reliable and it gets me point A to point B and I can go and hang out with my buddies and see the world on two wheels, because it's completely different. You can do it in a car, you can do it on a train, but there is something so visceral with doing it on a motorcycle. The sights, the smells. It's completely different.
I mean, you could probably chime into that. You've literally ridden almost every state in the country now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat it.
No,
It's just the sensations, the connection to the road, the elements. It's
When you're pulling into that, you see that city in the horizon as you get closer, and you're like, the day, like when we were coming into Duluth, right? We were all fucking. It was a boring ass day going through South Dakota, North Dakota. Then it got kind of nice going through Minnesota, and now the sun's going down. We're kind of carving down into the canyons or down the hill of into Duluth, and we're like, we're fucking going hard tonight. It's just like, it's a feeling that you just get on a motorcycle, especially when you look to your right and everybody's feeling it too. The sun's going down, you're getting revitalized. It's like,
it is the closest thing to. It's been said before, like rolling into town on horses. And
Yeah.
what it had to feel like 100 years ago or longer. You know
Sure.
what I
Yeah.
mean? Cowboy and
Yeah.
just rolling in and.
finally getting a bath.
Yeah, getting a bath, a bottle of whiskey, and a whore for the night. Yeah, but the modern day version of that is, a shower, a hotel, and a night out on the town with your buddies.
Dollar Miller Lights.
Yeah.
So you guys say how you come from the area of like the custom world and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I came from the Hell Yeah Brother area. Like my dad was actually a Hell Yeah Brother for sure. But what's interesting, I haven't told too many people this. So I actually am on the cover of a motorcycle book that my dad wrote, and it's like 50 Shades of Grey shit. The book is fucking terrible.
Hold on.
Dude, the book, the book is, so I have not read it. I like read like 3 pages and I'm like, this is fucking terrible. And at first I was embarrassed
It's
by
published, right?
it. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Holy
So your dad wrote an erotica book, and
Yeah.
you're on the cover of it on a
'Cause,
motorcycle.
like I like in the image of the main character.
Is that kind of not sexual harassment? Like,
How old were you in the picture on the
Look.
cover?
It was 7 years ago probably.
okay, so he's
you're
adult.
Yeah. Yeah, but the book is based on this guy that just gets on his bike and is lost and just goes and rides around the country, and basically every stop he's hooking up with women. Like that's the.
All right, so it's like a Harlequin romance version where they used to have the big buff dude on the cover.
Now
Your
it's-
grandma would read the
Fabio.
but
Right.
it's
Fabio.
vice versa. It's
Right.
you are the fucking guy that
Right.
you're the Jax of the story.
Right. Well, 'cause
that every dude is reading, going, "Oh my god, I wish I was this dude."
Here's the main reason why I didn't read it is because I'm pretty confident most of those stories were his stories, and I'm like,
It's probably good then.
and he didn't. I know actually 1 or 2 of them are his. That's the reason why I think the whole thing is.
Yeah, allegedly.
Right, allegedly. But so he never told me what was happening when he's like, "Oh, I want to do this photo shoot with you on my bike," and he's like, "I'm working on this project." Oh, it sounds really bad. He's like, "I'm working on this project, and I just want like you." He didn't tell me it was a book. He didn't tell me anything. He just said, "Hey, I want to. You would be the perfect image for this." I'm like, "Okay, perfect." I'm like, "I'll do it. It's my dad. Whatever. I don't care." So then he comes. I was living in Amarillo at the time, and we actually take the picture in Palo Duro Canyon.
Okay.
The backdrop of the book, it was photoshopped. Like
Dude,
different.
your profile picture needs to be this.
Yes.
Where's the
I was
cover of this
like,
book?
Jake, you've been holding out on us, dude.
So anyway,
This is getting good.
I tried to look it up, but I don't have it on my. I don't have service here, so I can't look it up.
Internet's out right now.
Yeah. So anyway, so he took the pictures or whatever, and at that moment is when he told me that it was this erotica book. And first, I'm thinking like, there could be something here, like because he told me the basis of the story, and he like went to he drove to Indy and Indianapolis and told like these publishers the baseline, and they like all like were like super excited about it. I just don't think he had the right people pre-reading and editing with him to like give him a good storyline. I think that was his downfall with that is,
Now's your time to shine.
well, he and so it got published, and I think that he should have had some better people like pre-reading it type of a thing.
Yeah, like a proofreading stuff. Like
Right, because I think he like kind of wrote like a chapter at a time, and it just literally was like him drive to another city, hook up with a chick, drive to another city, hook up with another chick, like that type of a thing. So that part of it was pretty shitty. From
Chapter 1, Tulsa.
right.
Chapter 2,
Right.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just me sitting on the Softail Deuce. But it's from behind though, so like you can't. Yeah.
The whole like comments of like talking about the hell yeah brother thing. Like when we first started saying that shit, it was just kind of like it was a way of kind of like deciphering between like what we were doing and what other people were doing. And I know that it's kind of taken a turn to become more of a derogatory thing, and I don't think it was ever really meant to be that way. It's just like a different style of bike, because what would used to happen, and the reason why we started saying this a lot was because those dudes would be like, hey brother, brother, all the time, right? And it just got to a point where it was kind of weird, right? And the thing about like motorcycling is it's every generation has like their style of what they did and how they were.
Right.
And I think that as I've gotten older in like being a part of this, just my like actual connection to the motorcycle scene.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you're like, his enthusiasm is the same as mine. It's just that his is packaged in a different way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'm not like, you take away all the eyes, and me and this dude can sit at a bar and have drinks all night together and talk about motorcycles and the life we've had on them and around them. And that doesn't really change much other than like the dialogue that, he might call me brother a couple times, and I say, hell yeah, dude. That'd be rad, cool, kick ass.
Right.
But, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of it's like, I don't know. I feel like I feel bad for like going down that path and like not making it, but helping that become like a way to describe somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I get the comment of that too, for sure. Now I look at it more of just their reactions, like, because they're generally the ones that are the shit talkers on the new stuff, and so I view it more like I'm more hating on them for talking.
Did y'all
shit.
see the recent post that Homeboy made? We were talking about it. The guy put out that story, got shared by everybody, where it was like, you like to ride fast, you're lame. You like to ride slow, you're lame. You like to have cool bikes, you're lame. You like to have, just going down the line. I did a I was on the Ray's podcast the night we got back, and kind of comment on that and got the whole gist. Did y'all see that post?
I think I did.
Yeah. Well, the concept behind it was like, we found out what the original guy, he was actually on the podcast as well, what it was about. Dude's been to down south camp out, solid guy, met him before. They were just having some like internal beef down in Miami area, right? They squashed it before this thing blew up on the internet. But I saw it get shared so many times that it's like, it had to resonate in its own way to the people that were sharing it. And me and Ray had a conversation, the Throttle Roots guy. We had a conversation prior to even doing the podcast where I was like, there are a lot of people coming into motorcycling, and I think that sometimes people expect whatever they did to come in to automatically be a pass into like they have to be accepted, no matter whether it's the money they spend on their bike or whatever it is, like, you know what I mean? People are forgetting that you have to be a little bit vulnerable and come up to people and meet people that way. It's like, I'm gonna come to bike night with my bike that I just spent $70,000 on, and you guys should all come to me because I have this. Even though, like, if it comes to our bike night and you're kind of a douche, then we just completely nice bike, man, and then we just fucking So, did you see Sopranos last night?
Did you see Flo's latest commercial?
Yeah. And so, like, what I took from that post was that a lot of people that are, kind of getting into motorcycling, and they're doing what's kind of popular or famous, or not famous, but like what kind of connects to them, right? Like, I'm not mad at anybody in how they find motorcycles. Maybe it's like, I'm good at editing videos, so I think I can go into the motorcycle world and make good video content on motorcycles. And I'm just hoping that whatever the case is, that you find a love for motorcycles in that. And then try to respect it deeper for the fact that, like, this thing's been going on for almost 100 or over 100 years now. Why has it been going on for 100 years? respect the fact that that is, not be like, oh, well, I have it now, and I'm better than everything that's ever happened before then and now. You know what I mean?
Good luck with that attitude.
Yeah, you get shunned out really quick because no matter who you are, if nobody in the motorcycle world fucks with you, then you're just you're still going to be on the outside of it, right? You're going to be Pluto in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Well, for some people, motorcycles, once again, they are the backdrop for the story in their life.
Yeah.
And for others, motorcycles are, Corey was telling when we were riding, he's like, I don't know what I would do without moto. I really don't. And I can relate to that. Like, it is for me that regardless of, what it's looked like over the years, but I've always had that form of escape. It's always this thing that I could, this really visceral experience I can have that's mine, my own. There's a select few people that have the same experience that I get to share that with. Those are who I connect with, I think, the most. When we can talk about just riding, not the motorcycle itself, but maybe just the riding, destinations, things like that, and then how it speaks to you emotionally.
Yeah,
and that's what it is for me. I mean, it's a personal thing. It's easier for me to relate to guys that it is a personal experience. That it means something to them like that, and especially Harleys.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because it's a machine that has this great history. It's Americana, and even as futuristic as ours may look, but it's still a V-twin with push rods. It still has this clankety, non-balanced,
non-water cooled. Thanks,
non-water-
Jake finally got off the water cool.
But
Switched over.
But it's just this that we're hanging on to a lot. We're riding something with a lot of really old technology, I just for me that's it. That's it. And everybody can have their own journey, even if the motorcycle is part of their backstory, like you said, the vlogger, and they make great content. And if it shines some light on the industry, that's great.
I'm sure you got something to time in, but I just want to say this real quick. What I've noticed and what I think that the path I've taken in motorcycles is that there's so many different avenues in which you can go out and explore within motorcycles. Maybe, I did when I first jumped on one, I wanted to be a stunt rider. So I did a couple wheelies, a couple stoppies, managed to not hurt myself, but this is before the stunt world got real crazy. And then I got scared of that because I was scared I was going to get hurt and not be able to paint and shit like that. And I got into custom bikes in the sport bike world, and that evolved into Harleys. And then, what I'm getting at is that like what wavelength of motorcycling you're on right now is not necessarily wrong. It's just, where you're at. Just know that there's a lot of other avenues you can try and go explore when you're ready to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you want to customize bikes right now and that's it, that's an experience. Go through it. I just hope that if you have a bad experience in one area of motorcycles, you don't quit all the other ones.
Right.
For sure.
Right. And that's kind of what that's the worry. Like, oh, well, I customized my bike. I spent tons of money on it. And then next thing you know, like I didn't win any shows or it didn't pan out for me this way. Well, then go ride it somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go thrash that bike and tear it up now and then see if you get, but then ask yourself, like, if you did it for that, then you didn't do it for yourself. You did it for other people, right?
Yeah.
To your point, what you were mentioning earlier about the experience of actually doing the riding with people and like the select few that you may do that with. That's what I think I'm going to change in 24 is, and we were having this conversation Thursday too. There are so many events to go, whether you have the time off, the cash flow to even do some of these things. I think I'm going to change I'll still do the major ones, the Sturgis and that type of a thing. But I think these smaller ones, I'm probably going to cut back on and just make those riding weekends.
Yeah.
And like, whether it's by myself or a couple other homies want to go with.
How long have we been talking about the 4-day weekends?
Yeah.
We've been talking about 4-day weekend rides forever now.
I'm telling you, I'm kind of at the point because now like we go to a certain event, maybe it's only a couple hours away or something like that. And then, yeah, there's some good riding you might do a little bit, but then you're stuck at the show or whatever for a full day or half a day or whatever. And it's like, I want to go do something where I ride for 6 hours, or and then we stop off and have some beers and dinner or something like that, and then the next day is the same thing. And that's what I want to make my 24 a little bit more focused around.
That's a good idea, man. Trust me, we've talked about that so much, and it's just like, someone having point, because like, think about it, man. Like we could do a Big Bend 4-day weekend
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And leave. We could leave Thursday, or either leave Thursday or leave Friday, come home Monday night, and just get a good miles in every day and have a fucking rager every night.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so into that. I
And
love
even,
that shit.
Millhouse was telling me this the other day, and I think he said that you guys talked about it too, is what do you call it, like the wagon wheel like philosophy, like maybe where we all meet up somewhere, and then like we kind of like each day we go like a different direction and then come back to the main hub, that night. Something like that too, like just doing, those types of things, like where we're actually riding throughout most of the day. That's what I want to get back to. I lost that this year for sure.
Well, I mean, you guys built a fucking to the nines bike, man. It's
Well,
like
yeah.
when you do something like that, like I don't, how do you, I don't want to say justify,
Right.
But how do you, like, when you do that, you got to go to these, you got to go show.
That's what it was
right?
built
For sure.
That's what
You
it was.
know?
Yeah.
100%, but like I do going through this year now, one that the bike being like in process, so like can't really do a whole lot during that time frame anyway, and then even getting to Sturgis, and I just like thought like, man, like I didn't do any like out and riding events this year. It sucks.
That's what on the custom side, you're surrounded by people that's all they're doing. Like nobody's really, like, every once in a while you'll get out. That's why it was just bar hopping, because everybody's like, I mean, I'm building bikes, not just for myself, but for other people. Mm-hmm. So everybody was always busy. So it was like, if you were lucky, you made it out to a bike night. You got to maybe, catch up with some of the other guys in the community and find out what they were doing. Mm-hmm. But everybody was just really completely immersed either in their own. And then it was, shows or rallies, because everybody's going to the rally to go show their bike. So vicious circle that you get stuck in, and the riding is just, one day I'll be the guy on the ultra classic. Yeah.
The idea, I mean, I know that area you're talking about is because it became, when these bikes have so much money in it, that there needs to be, like, if you're a bike shop and you're building $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 bikes, and the goal is to present this package to the customer so that they feel like, hey, first off, like, there's a customer for every type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. There's a customer where $70,000, $80,000 is what they're ready to spend to and have a good time on a motorcycle for Sturgis, right? Mm-hmm. There's a guy that's like put everything he has in his life on that bike just to get to Sturgis. That guy's there too. Nobody's better than each other. Nobody's more of anything. It's just, that's just the different strokes for different folks of motorcycling, right? And each one has a position in this world of of like the call, like the big, circle of life of motorcycles, right? All these guys connect, because that dude that might have been that guy might end up being the guy that's charging $100,000 to build a bike in 5 years. You never know where that those things lead.
Yeah. Well, those two same guys are going to end up at a destination and most likely have a conversation. The guy with the 40-year-old RV and the 40-year-old Harley is going to have a conversation with the guy that just, that probably spent 80 or more on a bike from, Covington or somebody like that. And those two guys are going to have the same they're going to have a conversation somewhere,
right?
So,
but yeah, if everybody can just like, and like I said, I'm speaking from a place of a little hypocritical, because like I said, I've definitely been the guy that's like found my groove or my niche of where I'm happy at the time, and be like, this or fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And obviously that's not really, as a wiser older man, like I've been saying all this podcast, it's all about like when you're ready for that, it's there for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, not to pressure people to feel like they have to like do what I'm doing now, but hey, if you're interested in what I'm doing, I'm creating this body of work through blogs and podcasts and photography that when you're ready, there's stuff there that you can use that might resonate with you more. It's kind of like the reading thing. It's like right now it's there, it's out there, but you're not, if your thing's not riding across country and staying in cheap motels and fucking figuring out what this town in the middle of nowhere has to offer, then it's not going to resonate with you. But it's there, so maybe one day it will, and that you can come back to that and be like, this is an experience I think I'm ready for in life. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the whole thing. That's what I found fascinating. It's not Outliers, the book, but just Outliers as people.
Oh yeah.
You
Well,
know,
the book was amazing.
The book's amazing, but
Yeah.
just
Have you
Outliers
ever,
I haven't read it.
just do the audio version.
yeah.
Okay.
Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell, fucking amazing.
Amazing.
Book.
Okay.
But just Outliers as people. So it's always fascinating to read or watch or listen to people that live these lives that are so outside of. I mean, look, I'm a creature of habit. So your lifestyle to me is completely foreign, but I get to experience all these amazing things, not only through our friendship, but through your social media, your vlogs, the podcast.
Right.
I get to experience what that's like with a little less anxiety, but that's the cool thing about, like, when you find Joe Rogan says, I'm glad people like you exist. And I will say that about all sorts of people that, you come in contact with. It may not be my thing, but I'm glad you exist. And I'm glad that you're documenting it or sharing that content with other people or letting people into your world, and that's seems weird to say now because it just seems like everybody just does that. Everybody has some kind of social media and.
Well, I mean, it's not like it's a weird place to be, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we just stayed in a house full of people with social media, right?
And no internet.
And no internet.
Oh my god!
Our Wi-Fi was like busted.
Dude, the air punching.
No,
Everybody's in their own rooms. Fuck.
Air punching.
no wonder the shit was broken in the house.
Yeah.
No.
Taking it out on the fucking carpet. I'm gonna shit on the carpet for a mile.
Oh my god!
Like a
Well,
dog where they don't like
The
drag their
irony in that. A house
So-
full of influencers and no fucking internet.
Dwayne called it when he pulled up. He goes, "I made it to Influencer Mountain."
Dwayne's a fucking gym, dude.
Dude, that guy
Dwayne-
is a fucking sweetheart.
Oh,
all right, what a cool dude. One of the first dudes we ran into when we were downtown Sturgis. The guy's a fucking. Ever since the Polar ride, which was one of the first dudes.
He
I
did the
met.
poll. Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He came here. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was on his way to Daytona or some shit.
So first
Yep.
guy I met at Buc-ee's when me and Mike DeJong and when we all pulled up there at Buc-ee's. He's out there in his goddamn snowsuit.
He came to bike night, right? Dwayne came to bike night on the way to Daytona or some shit.
Yeah, he did that.
That's when I first met him.
Yes, but he rode to
Dude, he has become like. We rode halfway back to Sturgis or from Born Free together. And then I met him on the way up to Sturgis. We met in Colorado Springs. Dude, he was blowing me up. Hey, I'm gonna get a room, get both of us. I'm like, no, I'm going to Boulder. I'm not staying in Colorado Springs. He's like, all right, so he got a room for him. Then I got trapped there in the rain. And I'm like, hey, dude, did you get a room for two? Like, nah, I got a room for one. I was like, fuck. So I had to get a fucking hotel by myself. And he is like what I take away the fact that he has, that Trask Assault Road Glide. Take away that.
yeah.
Put him on a normal Road Glide.
Well, he's
the
doing it
dude's
now. He's
personality.
He's doing it now on that new lowrider.
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
So,
still,
I
it's
mean,
still decked out, but yeah.
It's still decked out, but I mean, still, it's like he literally just gets this bike, this lowrider with, it's set up. It's a nice road bike, and he's out on the road up to going to Four Corners.
Yeah.
Just out there fucking killing. He's killing it, dude.
Yeah, that guy. I mean,
He's
salt
a
of
good
the earth.
vibe, dude.
Salt of the
good
earth,
vibe.
man.
Fun, man. He's so fucking fun, so fun.
Yeah. So we told
Influencer
him.
Mountain.
So we told him, like, Dwayne, you're for sure in the house next year.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
he was a good dude. He slept on the couch opposite you that night.
Dude, I think
Did he
he's.
pass out?
I
Did
think
stay
he.
there?
So we left Winton's house. It was late, right? So we all went back to the house and we ended up, I think some of us got in the hot tub that night. We were just kind of chilling.
Again?
Yeah. It was like
Yeah.
3 a.m. We walk in the house. He's still in his fucking air dunks or whatever the fuck, sleeping on the couch, just fucking out, passed out.
Oh, it's gone.
Then the next morning I wake up and I think you finally went up to your room, but
did.
Dwayne's down there just fucked up, dude. Because Dwayne was downstairs with us in the hot tub all night.
Yeah, so Dwayne first messaged me or texted me saying, "Hey, I'm planning on getting in the day before I get my place." And I'm like, "Dude, just crash on one of our couches." Or no, actually, at the time you weren't getting in yet, so I was like, "Just crash in Jace's bed." So he did that, and then he stayed there like 2 or 3 nights, and then ended up finally going to his house, and then stayed that night too. So I think he stayed at our house more than he stayed at his house wherever he was at. But dude,
I love that dude.
That's
man.
the thing is like it's a guy you want around all the time.
He is so fun, man.
Yeah.
He is so just full of energy, like always hyped up, just having a good time wherever the fuck he goes.
And I think you put it best. He can give shit and take shit well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
you can spit roast him, well, because like this was after the show. There was a show or something. He's like, he was I guess a little bent on
not winning the V-Twin
not
show.
winning or whatever. And I was, I was like, dude, you gotta have something new every year.
That's probably why he's got this lowrider.
You gotta have.
He took your words of wisdom there.
I was like, just paint it, dude. Just paint it a different color. It's like, I can't paint that fucking bike.
Yeah, we were talking because we rode back from Born Free together, and
That was another one where he was at. Yep.
yeah. So we hung out in Born Free, and then the next morning I was leaving Venice, and he was staying kind of like 100 miles, like in on my trip, and I woke up late. Like I was planning on leaving Venice at 3 a.m. I didn't leave till like 4:35. So they waited on me. We linked up. We made it all the way to Tucson, and then the heat was like 115. It was gnarly. But I kind of like the time of the day. I knew that it was only going to be for another hour and a half, and then we're going to be through it. He was like, "I'm fucking done." He got a hotel in Tucson. He lives in El Paso, dude.
Right.
He easily could have been there.
Yeah.
But he had just he had that motor rebuilt in that bike. It was fresh. He didn't want to fuck it up, take any chances. So I get that.
Yep.
But no, man, like every hanging out with him at the camp out, then hanging out with him at Texas Hills, and then Born Free, and then now Sturgis, like that's the shit. That to me, that's what he's putting in the effort to be a part of this world. And it's not that he's doing it to be a part of our world because he wants in. It's just that that's the kind of guy I want to be around because he brings a great vibe and energy to everything that he's a part of.
Yep.
And I don't have to worry about the fact that if we go on a road together, he can afford to get his own fucking hotel room.
Right.
You know what I mean? He can afford his shit. I'm not going to be paying this dude's bills while we're traveling together. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, there's
Jace, you want to split a Happy Meal, bro?
bro, just ask me. I'll buy you one. You want a 10-piece?
Look,
Do you want a 20-piece? Just say it.
we could just put our fries together and we could share them. But I ordered a large and you ordered a small.
Well, I was nervous going into the house.
Oh, for
Because
sure.
I was nervous because
So was I.
I couldn't do it. I for real.
I
Thank
think
God you guys had Trey.
I thankfully knew essentially everybody. So I was like probably the one and only one that like had a relationship with everyone before.
Yeah.
Well, except for minus like 1 or 2, but either way, I knew mostly everyone going
You guys
into
all
it.
had your own rooms.
we did, but I was just worried that my vibe and what I talk about and what I find to be my truth of motorcycling might not line up with the other people. And I was hoping that I never got to a point of drinking or that level where I'm like, no,
Fuck
they
you.
need to hear this. You know what I mean? And so I always wanted to be at that point where I was more listening and taking in and not projecting. And so I kept trying to stay on that level. And I did.
I think you did really well.
I had a couple points where I felt like I kind of leaned into a certain thing, a certain topic here and there, but
Certain flannel company.
yeah. And then I told him, I was like, who am I to tell you not to have your own experience with that? You know what I mean?
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like one of those things I was kind of nervous going into because I didn't, I don't. Like we were saying, everybody goes to Sturgis on their own accord for their own inspirations, right? So I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, well, that's not good enough, or that's not the right one, or whatever the case may be. But but also I want to hear them tell me why. What made you want to get into this?
Right.
Of course they're never gonna say, well, I'm really attractive, and
I'm fucking hot and I get.
and I'm
views,
not ready for
motherfucker.
OnlyFans, but But no, I mean, the house was full of people that were like, you know, that felt like if you're in the house and you're staying there, the conversations were very genuine, right? Between everybody, it was like a real, like, whether or not everybody in that house carried that same moniker outside of the house, I can't speak to that. But inside the house, everybody was kind of like on a level playing field, you know. And there's some people there with some big social media followings. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's weird because, like, you know, that does kind of play into some of our like egos and our, you know, I guess monikers or however you would like describe us. Like, you know, don't you? Everybody wants to be the big bad motherfucker in the village, right? You know.
I mean,
But what's crazy too is like there were several there that, you know, are pushing 100,000 followers and that type of a thing, but like no one cared. Like
I didn't get that vibe when I went over there. I thought it was just a bunch of people hanging out.
That's the thing is everyone was there to like have a good time.
So,
Everyone was there to have a good time rather than like maybe because we didn't have Wi-Fi, but they weren't there to try to like get more followers.
Well, you guys look when Corey and I got there, it looked like the morning after a fucking war. All right, so you know, like everybody is like just kind of like slothing around. You know, Jace is like just getting up. He wasn't even awake when we got there, or at least not downstairs. So Trey's in there watching his stories, folding laundry.
That was a long night the night before.
Oh my god, dude.
Well, so we shut down the bars Friday night. We shut down the bars at in Sturgis, and Trey drove home with one fucking eye open, and I was so glad not to be driving. I was just like, I've done this so much in my life. I'm so glad that I'm not responsible right now. But he did it, and
he was doing like 20.
Dude, left downtown Sturgis after the bars all shut down. So the street sweepers are coming. It's like 3 a.m. And we walk back, get in his fucking truck, and he makes it from downtown Sturgis all the way down Cop City to our fucking exit. And we're all on there like, no, not this one. It's the next one. Because, you know, it takes the week there to remember where the fucking turn is, right? And then we made it back, and then we all fucking just, dude, it was a late night, man. And I wasn't drunk, though. Like, I never.
Then why weren't you driving?
No, I was drunk enough not to drive.
Oh, okay.
Because he would still get the DUI.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like sipped on a, you know.
You did get pulled over, though.
I got pulled over on Monday.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't drink all day, though.
On your bike?
Yeah.
Really?
I went around this cop, and he's fucking, like, driving slow. We were about to go into that one lane to go through the canyon to Deadwood. It's like, man, I'm not trying to be stuck behind this car. And I felt like it was a cop. I went around him. Let's just say I went 3 miles over the speed limit. Went around him. Pulled me over. He was grilling me. You been drinking? Did you drink? I can smell you. I can smell your breath. I'm like, dude, I have my fucking helmet up, bro. I was like, dude, I'm a photographer. I was just at a show. I had to fucking be there. I was doing some stuff there, blah, blah, blah. The night's over. I'm going back to my fucking hotel room, and then I'm leaving tomorrow. And I was kind of being, I wasn't drunk. I didn't drink at all. So I was like, well, you know, dude, like, give me a ticket.
Do whatever you're going to do and let me leave.
Yeah.
What was funny, though, is so, like, I was at the same bike show, and I had stole this gigantic inflatable twisted tea can, and I didn't try to deflate it at all. So, like, the only way to carry, like, I literally had it across my lap, and I'm like this, riding down downtown Sturgis with this inflatable twisted tea can, and I go past him pulled over.
Yeah.
Cop's like, that's fine.
Right.
No problems. No problems there. Hey, dude.
Yeah, it's called taking one for the team, guys.
That's right.
I got him pulled over so that all the people could pass.
Yeah.
But no, it was like I just, you know, that was the day of the V-Twin Visionary show and then Hardcore Cycle show, and then it kind of rained at the later in the afternoon. Right. I just was never in a place to drink, and then when we got to the Hardcore Cycle show, I had one beer, and I just wasn't feeling it, and I honestly was just waiting on the clouds to break because I wanted to go try to take pictures of the bike by the Bear Butte Mountain.
Yeah.
Clouds broke, went and took the pictures, and I literally remember driving back by the entrance to that campground and saw you guys still pulling your bike out of where the pool was.
Yep.
So I'm like, cool. So I'm slow rolling the whole way. I'm 30 miles an hour. I'm not breaking any laws. The whole fucking face is up on the helmet. I'm just cruising. And then, like I said, we come to that point. where it goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane. You start carving that canyon, and I'm like,
That's where they always sit too.
well,
there.
he was in front of me.
That's right.
driving.
You were driving. Yeah.
I went around him.
Yep.
I thought it was a cop. I felt like it was a cop, but I was like, well, I'm not. He wasn't. The cop didn't give me a ticket because I didn't break any laws. I just went around him, and I think that he was like the audacity of this guy.
Oh, I got one.
Yeah.
I got one.
And I wasn't drunk, and they got 2 officers in every car, so one officer stays with you to make sure you're not like slurring.
Right.
He has a conversation with you you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, cool, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Dallas. Like, oh, I did some time in fucking so and so. I'm like, yeah, I live there. And I'm like,
Excuse me, sir. You did some time?
Right.
but yeah, it was a.
I was, everybody, well, that's what you get going there. It's like, oh man, the cops, dude. The cops
They are
so
bad,
bad.
yeah.
So,
But when you see where they're bad, where they're at, it's like, well, that makes sense. I mean, of course they're going to be on opposite ends of the town, just waiting. Everybody gets out of all that traffic, and even if you're not under the influence, you get through that parade through downtown or the main drag.
Yeah.
When you get going up to the Buffalo Chip, you're going to probably crack it wide open. So
Yeah, it's 30 or 35 that whole way.
Oh, my God. When we caught up with Jetty and Justin and what's it?
Jeremy and
Austin and those guys.
Austin and all
Austin,
those.
yeah.
I was like, this is the worst group of fucking dudes to have to do this stretch of road with. The worst.
So JD's got the money for the tickets. Justin thinks he has the money to pay the tickets.
well,
I don't know Austin's situation.
Jetty will probably pay for Justin's tickets.
If I'm going to ride anywhere with Jetty from here on out for the rest of my life, Jetty's got me on every fucking thing that we're doing that ends up breaking the law. We rode back with him from Sturgis, Jaden and I, and it was lawlessness. This dude just does not.
Well, even when we went to that Texarkana event, and him and I got pulled over because there was an accident and the traffic was super backed up. We were just riding the shoulder. We were doing like 5 or 10 miles an hour, but there just happened to be a state trooper sitting in that and came up right behind us. And he only gave us a warning. But then we get back in the line, and sure enough, then a Mercedes comes down doing the same thing, and he comes and pulls that Mercedes over. Once Jetty sees that, we're taking off down the shoulder again.
Jetty's like, he's distracted.
You just posted that thing today where like they made it's now actually illegal.
Officially illegal.
That's fucking stupid. We went backwards.
Dude,
I
that
know.
sucks. That sucks. Because, that's my cheat code when I leave work to go home which is, traffic is, if you live in and around Dallas and you have to commute to work, traffic just becomes the bane of your
Especially in
existence.
this heat.
Especially in the heat. So, on the rare occasion that I do ride to work, the ride home is always, I go in early most of the time, especially right now, but on the way home, at first I thought, I'm off at 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And too late. Yeah, too late. Like nobody, like what time do you fucking people get off work? And then, so there was always in the mornings.
On a Friday, it starts at 3 o'clock.
Dude,
If
seriously.
you're not out of town by 3 o'clock on a Friday, I don't care what part of where you're going. You're getting traffic.
3 to 7 o'clock.
Traffic.
3 to 7 o'clock. It's, and then what's crazy, what I've noticed is like, so on the main thoroughfares, right? So 75, 35, 635, you name your main thoroughfare. 3 o'clock to, let's just say 5:30, those are jam-packed. And they'll stay that way till probably 7 o'clock. But what's crazy is watching the filtering out. So when you start working your way into different suburbs, there's no traffic between 3 and let's say 5 in your suburban areas. But man, you start hitting those areas once that shit's all filtered out. So up to 8 o'clock because parents are going to games and you're running kids around. It's just fucking madness. To go 22 miles and it take me an hour and a half to get home just blows my mind. So the cheat code was, well, I'm just going to ride my bike. I know it's 107 or it's 110, but I'll split lanes or I'll ride the shoulder. And that same 22 mile, hour and a half becomes 30 minutes or less. Mm-hmm. And now that they're writing tickets, I'm like, Oh man, I know what that traffic's like on 75. You ain't catching me. You're not catching. I'm gonna be. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't get on the shoulder. What do you call an officer? Maybe a couple exits. I'm literally like, I might take the ticket on that one.
Yeah. I got a verbal warning from a Plano bike cop.
Really?
A few weeks ago, coming back from Sherman. Yeah,
Splitting lanes.
Yeah,
on 75.
Yeah, it was 75
No shit.
south. There was a wreck, and I was just kind of, just filtering, not even really splitting, just being real careful.
In between.
Yeah, doing
Oh,
whatever.
like
I had.
the zigzag.
Yeah.
But staying as close to the right as I could.
Right.
But then, eventually, depending on the truck or whatever, I might have to dip in.
So was
to the
he up
middle
in
lane.
front of you and saw you
I
doing
never
it?
saw him. All of a sudden, I just heard boop bloop.
Oh, he was on a
And,
bike.
Yeah, he pulled up right behind me, and he kind of got over next to me, and he yelled, "No lane splitting!" as he
Then you don't do it either.
Yeah. Well, at that point, I kind of just nodded and said sorry. Was already because I was at that point just glad I wasn't getting pulled over. And he went up to a wreck that was there, and once I saw the wreck and saw him off the bike, it was
Back to lane splitting.
I didn't do anything until because at that point I could kind of see what was up. I could see the clearing close enough ahead where I was like, "No, you're gonna."
I'd pull the Ryan Crucy shit. Do you know how hot my bike is right now?
That's what I
It's
was
hot
doing.
as fuck.
That's what I was gonna do on a cop, but when they're on a bike, it just. He
Well,
probably knows
I
more
thought
about it
that
than
was
me.
the law in Texas was that if you had an air-cooled vehicle, I know it was for a while, but if you had an air-cooled vehicle, so
Volkswagen Bug or something like that.
motorcycle, you were allowed to move past traffic on the shoulder legally. You couldn't obviously not lane slip, but you had access to the shoulder. And so I'm curious if that's still the law.
So I don't recall if it specified the. Let me see if I still have the it open. It says, I do. Okay, so it says you may not operate the motorcycle more than 2 abreast in a single lane with other motorcycles. So you can't run 3 in a lane. You may not operate the motorcycle between lanes of traffic moving in the same direction. So that would be splitting. And you may not pass a motor vehicle while in the same lane as the vehicle being passed. So it doesn't specify shoulder.
So maybe that's still a thing. You can still ride the shoulder. So if there's traffic, you can get on the shoulder, and legally, that's how it was.
I've said it for years, but if Texas would allow lane splitting, with the traffic that's in every major city in Texas, it would be 10 times better than them getting another fucking foreign company to come in here and build another HOV lane.
Or a toll
because
road.
it would create more people choosing to ride a motorcycle to get to and from work. And the fact that pretty much everyone in Texas, Dallas South, has the ability to ride year round.
Yep.
That would create so much less traffic. It would create more of a motorcycle economy here. It's just, trust me, I love being in this state because of the government, but I hate being in this state because of the government for the same way.
I feel you on that.
You know what I mean?
on that. Yeah.
So it's a
And
Sell my soul.
Oh man, that's the new lead-in. But what sucks too is that like the shoulders here are fucking war zones.
yeah.
So it's
And full
like,
of nails, too.
Yeah, do
Fucking
I
hate 'em.
want a fucking flat? You
Right.
know,
They leave it like that for
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just count all the Ultima bumpers as you go.
Did you see that the Ultima Boss that sold? It was like a 0 mile Ultima 06
Yeah.
for like $3 million.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
I didn't see that.
And the last Ultima will cease production in 2025. That's the last year. And nobody cares because it'll still be alive long after that.
Oh my god, yeah. Be like styrofoam. We'll all be dead and they'll still be on the planet.
So many Ultimas floating around. Oh my god.
Car.
Oh, dude, it's crazy to see.
With their check engine lights on, the headlight out.
We have one at the college it's a module, it's a demo for the students to work on. Everybody jokes that all the parts are still on it. This one still has bumpers, still has all the hubcaps. Yeah, Ram trucks, Chargers, Challengers, and Altimas, dude. Just born to be memes.
I saw a meme the other day. Well, it was a while ago now, but it said Oh, it's so awesome that the Challenger scat packs are putting everyone's credit score on the side of it. The 392.
That was the best shit. Yeah, Mopar owners get their credit score on the fender and it shows the 5, like the 345 and the 392. I was like, oh, it's the accuracy on that shit. You know? What was it? I saw one too. Was because somebody had commented on the Ultima thing that I was reading on 1320. It said that Dodge Rams are the white male version of the fucking Ultima. Yeah. So I was like, I had to send it to Justin. I was like,
Or Trey.
oh yeah, but didn't Trey get rid of his?
He's got a Ram now.
He's got a Ram.
He does?
He had a Silverado, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Big Will
Trey.
Cody has a Ram too.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh. No. Oh, they fit the stereotype. Look, stereotypes don't come out of fucking thin air, all right?
Yeah. Stereotypes are they're like badges of honor. You know what I mean?
That's how I think you should wear them.
They're fun because they're true.
Look, I embrace the word bean, all right?
You can say that.
I've said it a couple times on here. People get pissed, like you're a racist, fucking so and so. It's like
Look, as your friend, you get a pass. I'll give you a pass.
I got a pass from a real Mexican guys, a real one.
I've addressed my students as beans.
I want to come speak at your college. So I know some of you guys are beans,
Listen up, beans.
but don't let that deter you.
Oh man.
I don't know, man. It's
They're dreamers.
the dreamers.
No, I don't have any current dreamers.
You don't.
No,
What's
I did.
it- so you got your new class now. What's it like?
So this is the largest group I've had. So I started full time a year ago. Now I've had large groups. I've been teaching for 25 years now. So at this facility, when I first started last year, maybe 10 on average. And now I am, so if I count my total class load for the entire day, whether Monday through Thursday, I'm close to 50. So great. So I have some high school, we started a dual credit program. So I have some high school students that filter in the morning. So it's why I have to be there at 7. So that's why I haven't been at bike nights on Tuesdays, because I literally get by the time I finish everything, my workload after, I might have 2 hours to myself in the evenings before I need to be in bed. I mean, you have to remember, I have 4 hours plus of lecture and then instruction for each class.
Yeah.
And I have 2 of them 4 days a week. So my main concern is making sure that I'm really mentally prepared for all this. This is the last thing I need to be is coming in looking like Nick Nolte, and smelling like alcohol and not having my shit together.
I literally one time went to a training with where my HR person came in smashed the next day.
You got to stop by Crowdus on the way home and get you a little bit of that wake up powder.
R.I.P. Crowdus.
R.I.P. Exactly.
R.I.P. So no, but it's great. The high school, I have 3 high school students. They're amazing. One of them's a little boyfriend girlfriend couple, but they're really good. They do really well. And the rest of the students I have, and we've done a really good job recruiting from other programs. So a lot of these students are coming from vocational programs in high school where they're already doing this.
Yeah.
So they have. They're coming in pretty well prepared. So, this has been the most fun. All my years teaching, this first bumper crop that I have, this first group, probably the ones that I'm most excited about. And we've done a lot of refinement in the program. So, Raven and I have been there for a year now, really working hard on dialing in the curriculum and their homework or web assignments. So we feel like we have our shit together, and the students definitely have their shit together. Yeah, I'm very optimistic. And I know we're in a bubble, but the idea that you read maybe online that kids don't know how to do kids today. Well, I've been hearing kids today since I was a kid.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I hate to generalize. And I try my best not to do it, but I'm really proud of what we get and the employment. So we have, this is the most I've seen people immediately go to work. We're very fortunate here in Texas, especially Dallas, being close to Austin too with Tesla. Tesla has,
Yep.
so we have just on the collision and service side, Tesla has a large facility in near DFW.
Is it?
It's on Lemon.
Oh, okay.
So they have another delivery center in Plano where they're delivering 300 units a week.
Damn.
So I have a couple students there that are helping with that. And then they're opening a collision and service center in Plano, one in Bedford, and I think there's plans for one in McKinney.
I just read an article over the last couple weeks. It said something along the lines of, and I'm not saying necessarily this is blue collar, but it said blue collar wages have risen more than white collar for the first time in like 20 years.
I always know I've always known the exception to the rule. Look, it's not a glamorous business, right? Like being a collision tech or, anybody in that, it's not glamorous, but there were always these spots that were, it was an easy 6-figure job. It wasn't glamorous. There wasn't any fame in it, but you could make a good living. This was just going to be your jam. But you could say that for all the trades like plumbing, electrical. But
right.
I think the bummer part that we're seeing now is just this hyperinflation where it's like,
six figures is nothing.
That's nothing. I mean, that's nothing now. It's what sucks. Like for so many, the meme that popped up is like, I finally made 6 figures and I'm realizing I'm still fucking poor. That's the most aggravating shit. But, what I try to tell the students is like, I want you to have something that, especially for those that need to work with their mind and their hands together. I care more about, are you happy as a fucking person? I don't care about.
I want to do another one of those things where I came and talk to your class, but I want to have like a PowerPoint. I need someone to come.
Dude, I'm in consulting. And all I do is build PowerPoints.
If I can get someone to give me some charts.
Charts.
I want a laser pointer and I want like a presentation charts. If you look at me here, 2019, this is my MySpace style. You see how pussy was up? Finances were down.
I'd like to come lead the pledge.
So I got an opener tonight. He got his own PowerPoint too.
I'm bringing in our wish list Theo Vaughn over here.
Oh shit.
I just have to be like holding signs up in the back, like a green one and a red one. What he can say and what he can't.
How
Survey says.
How far down the racist road I can veer?
You start he has like different shades of green to red. Like you're getting orange here, buddy.
Yeah. It's getting hot. Hot potato. No, it's been a really incredible. I always knew that I was going to end up on the education side. So it's been an incredible experience. It's a lot of fun. The kids are great. I have 3. So you might remember, Winslow's trim or Bruner's trim in Garland? They've been there forever. Anyway, it's Moppet Automotive, and I have 3 of their employees, young guys that came out of, I wish I could remember what tech program they came out of. But really good, really, really good, smart, sharp young men. And they have cool projects. So, kids will like, oh man, look at my Trailblazer SS or,
Yeah.
I have a lot of Tuquacheca. So they'll all come in and they'll show me all their projects. A lot of the kids that are in there have like really cool stuff that they work on. And that's on both sides.
I wonder if they ever so I feel like I'm just now kind of on the downward slope of coming out of the fact that I felt like coming into like working in custom cars and motorcycles for my entire adulthood, I've always been chasing this thing like I deserve to own one. You know what I mean? Like I've always had this saying like I don't ever want to work on something I can't afford to buy.
Right.
So if I work for Mercedes, I should be able to own a Mercedes, right? And I still like to believe in that thing, but I felt like I spent so much of my life trying to have the things that I felt like I worked on to the point where like the sacrifices I made on the other side of things that weren't as glamorous, you know what I mean? Never bought a house, never did these other things. It's like, yeah, I probably should just bought a house when Big Old Baggers was big instead of having a couple of them, you know what I mean? So I don't know, man. That's the weird thing about like, you know, the times like when we've talked at Bite Night about coming and talking to kids, like I feel like I have ideas that spoken to the right person at the right time could probably resonate. But at the same time, it's like I'm constantly in this evolvement stage of myself of understanding my own perspective on life. You know what I'm saying? So you're constantly like, even the way I felt last year about certain things, I don't necessarily feel the same way today. You know what I mean? Like some of my stuff about social media and like how you spend your time is still the same. But, you know, like the first time I went to go talk to your class and I was like, yeah, you know, like Instagram can really take you somewhere. I'm like, no, it can't.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. The algorithm changed.
Well, what I want them to know is, I like sharing. I feel like I have some pretty unique friends that have amazing skill sets, and I like that everybody's all over the place, right? They're all so different. But when kids talk about, or if they talk about going to a program, like, oh, well, you're just gonna learn how to fix this or do that. And they don't realize that there's sales positions, there's marketing positions, there's social media positions, there's the custom side of it. So you want to bring all these different things in to let them know that, look, because I'll have kids that are like, we start doing plastic work, right, and sand and Mondo, and they're like, ugh, like I don't like this, and I'm like, ooh, you got a long road ahead. I mean, if you're wearing PPE and you're in an air-conditioned shop and you don't like this already, this is going to be a real problem for you. But if you let them know that there are other roles that, even with this skill set and the fact that you know how to do it, you know how the product works, you know how to apply it, that's just something that goes in your back pocket, and you can go and
you can apply it.
It in a host of different ways.
Yeah.
A host of different ways.
Yeah.
So that's my thing, is just to, look, I understand that, you're going through this program because you thought, well, I'm going to work on cars. That may not be where you end up. It may not.
I always say, like, I wish that in my 20, 21, my age from 15 to probably 22, I wish that I was exposed to things that I was exposed to between 30 and 35. Mm-hmm. And those are things that that came through social media, honestly, until Instagram became a thing and started exposing me to other alternative ways of going through life. Like, I was chasing the same thing that we were all accustomed to. Like, I guess I got to knock her up and marry her and fucking try to buy a house and do this. And I never knew about backpacking Europe. Like, what the fuck, dude? I would have definitely done that over fucking having kids. Love you.
That was an option. So just pull out prior to my senior year, and I could have backpacked across Europe.
Well, just like it. I mean, beating a dead horse now, but like, when I grew up in the 90s, like there was just not a lot of exposure to these more alternative like paths in life. It was so stringent. Like every fucking year in high school, as soon as you hit 9th grade, it's like this career program. Like, if you start today, then you could be ready for your job in so and so here. This pamphlet says I can make $45,000 a year if I stick on this path, and it's just like, yes, those were safe bets for certain like paths, but like for the people that were, I guess for like me, like I just was never going to fit in those boxes. I needed some kind of creative outlet, and I'm never going to go to school enough to be able to earn the right to have creative control over things. I'm going to have to create that and get that world to allow me to come have say in that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, and then like finding out, what kind of worker you are. That's something that you don't know in high school.
No.
You don't know that you're a guy, if you're the guy that needs to be hands-on or a guy behind a desk.
No.
You know what's interesting? I actually, so I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
So I was it was always this concept of, it doesn't matter what your job is. You work to get the job done. after going into corporate America and then especially like dealing with like the union side of things and stuff like that, and like, no, that's not your job. You don't touch that part. Yeah. And like corporate America almost like devalued or like made me have a different work ethic.
Yeah, yeah.
I had to. I've had like there was a moment where I almost got like a bad work ethic, and then I had to like realize like, no, this isn't what I grew up and came from. Like I had to like relearn this again.
Yeah, so, it's not a see a need, fill a need environment in corporate America. There's a person for that like you, and a lot of, well, it's outside of your contract.
Yeah,
you're not supposed to do that. There's somebody else that's designated to do that. And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, if we do this your way, this is going to take months if it ever gets corrected or handled.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the way it is.
Like that would be the difference between someone that's okay with accepting their paycheck versus the fact they never created anything versus I can never allow things to like not see the light of day. Right. So I'm, maybe like certain movies would kind of romanticize the idea of putting in the long hours to create this thing that you guys are working on and blah 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 and the team and this and fuck my family, I'm trying to fucking make this happen kind of thing, and I'm that guy. I'm a work obsessed person because it gives me purpose in life. You know what I mean? And so with that being said, like I'm just not okay with like things. The older I've gotten, the more I have to work alone because I don't accept a lot of shit. You know what I mean? And not to say that like anybody that's ever worked here has not been good enough. It's just that my unrealistic expectations of people have made it to where I have to work alone because I don't think anybody could fulfill my
well, they can't do what you have such high expectations.
Exactly.
They can't do well. You're telling yourself there's no way they could possibly do what I'm doing, and I'm entrusting in this person to do that particular thing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it's control.
I'm a control freak in that aspect. Yeah.
I mean I'm the same way to a degree, but I've always I don't know. I've always had. It's why I've always taught, but it's also why I've always employed apprentices. Like I was fortunate enough to have somebody that gave me an opportunity to share their knowledge with me. I felt like it was kind of like a duty for me to be able to do the same thing, to be able to share this knowledge. And I knew I hated the gatekeeper shit when I was a young person in this industry. I hated that part. I hated how dirty it was. And I have an appreciation for the old school mentality, like the hazing I went through.
Totem pole, baby.
Yes, but I'm glad I got to experience that. Do I think anybody else coming after me needs to experience that? Probably.
Well, let me ask you this: How do you develop a work ethic into somebody without like structured levels? Like it, the funny thing is like so much of life is a video game, even though people say they hate it, blah blah blah, but it really like certain types of video games really resonate with life because there is this effort equals opportunity equals like progression, right? Sure. So you put in time and effort into being better at something and understanding something, you get better opportunities and you become more valuable in the workforce. Therefore, the totem pole has a place where if all you know how to do is sweep and take out the trash, then unfortunately, humbling yourself to know that this is the most value that you create for this company, this is where you're at, right? But as you gain skills and knowledge, you move up on that totem pole to a better place, right? With that in mind, it takes away entitlement out of people where they feel like because I have a job, I deserve to make even though this is where my skills are, I deserve to make this much money because that's where my mentality is.
Right.
Right? And so how do you...
Women's sports.
How do you...
Union jobs.
How do you distill this thing that you can't repackage it in any kind of way in society? You can't put another name on it. It's still a fucking totem pole. You just call it the goddamn flagpole or call it the fucking whatever you want or the hill or the mountain of success or whatever the fuck. but skills equal opportunity. And as you grow your skills, you get more opportunity.
Sure.
Now, if you add a great personality on top of those skills,
Even better.
you'll find yourself reaching higher goals in life. If you got one of those like, fuck you, I am who I am kind of, Circuit City still might exist somewhere. And they need a floor manager.
That was to me. That was one of the things I loved about this business. When when I first understood what flat rate was, like how technicians get paid, and immediately the light bulb's going off in my head, and I'm like, okay, so like this just filters the skilled from the non-skilled, the strong from the weak. So you're going to be if you have a great work ethic, you can be good and fast, those two things together, and have just not be an asshole, not even have a great personality. How about just not be an asshole? Right? Yeah. Like pay it forward, think about the next person in line in this production process, do a little bit to help them. If you just think about those things, and put the customer first, like how, what do you want your experience to be here? Like you get rewarded for that. And so that was the best part about the whole commission portion of how, and I still think it's the best way to compensate technicians in the industry. I think that's where it creates that totem pole situation where the best end up at the top of the totem pole. They don't get to stay there forever.
So how do you how do you repackage it with today's society where
my goal, this is what I'm curious about, because Tesla is really changing a lot of things on the collision side, because they are doing, their compensation is based on salary packages and not commission work. But to earn those top paying roles in regards to salary, you have to be highly educated, you have to have lots of experience, you have to be highly skilled. So they're taking the top guy from the totem pole and they're saying, okay, if you get to this level, this is where you can make, let's just say 80 to 6-figure plus. That's where you get to be if you're this guy. And you're going to have somebody that's going to give you performance evaluations and make sure you stay that guy. And there'll be other positions that open up outside of being hands-on that you can eventually move to. So I'm curious to see how this works out long-term. Does this inspire the guys that are at the bottom to want to move up, to be at that position and then move on? We'll see. It's not like, for sure you could go to another shop and be commission-based and probably make a lot more money. Yeah. But do you want a lot more money on this crazy wave where 1 month you just sat on your hands for a whole month and made nothing and wrote the company a check for your insurance, and then the next month you've made more money than you've ever seen? Do you want to do that, or do you want to work for a place that just strokes you a check, has good health benefits, those kinds of things? So I'm curious to see how this plays out long term in our industry. But my mission, what I try to inspire my students is find a passion, find something that you're good at, that you like. Follow that, chase that, because that will provide confidence, and confidence is what's going to be your compass and your guide in the weakest moments you have in regards to what am I doing with my life? Do
you ever bring up the 10,000 hours, 10 years kind of idea?
Yeah, all the time.
So,
all the time.
roughly that 10,000 hours resonates to around 10 years of experience in something. Yeah. And I feel like when I was 21, if you would have told me that at 21, after I put 10 years into this, I'll see some real return on investment, it probably would have been hard for me to kind of.
I had a student walk out on me. That's the first speech I give them. I try to give them some reference material. It's one of the first books that I'll recommend that they read. And I'm like, you're going to have 2 years in this program. And you're probably going to have 10 before I would consider you a professional. And that may vary. I could, you could be.
And it's always like with a grain of salt, depending on how more or less obsessed you are with the things you do. Because if you're the kind of person for me, I would say that, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I'm just saying the way I'm wired is like, if I'm doing something, I'm obsessed with it. So I ultimately would probably log more hours in a day on something and work the weekends and just obsessive in something to the point where I'll get to a point of proficiency a lot quicker than other people. Right. If I'm into it, right? photography, whatever I choose to do, right? But some people, and now that I'm at 40, like I understand that time and I trust the time. I'm like, okay, well, I really want to be a great photographer. Well, I know how this works. I've done it with custom paint. So I know that today, if I just do some today and I do some tomorrow and I do some next week, by the time I forget about it, it becomes a habit. It's like working out. Like it becomes a habit and you start to see results when you're not paying attention to it. And that's the same concept is like, okay, I'm not scared to start things anymore because I understand the process. As opposed to when you come out of high school, you're scared to start things because you don't know how promising these things are.
Yeah.
You don't know, you haven't seen the results of something else that you've put time into yet, right?
And time is so different when you're young.
Yeah.
As opposed to when you get older.
Trust me. If we could go back, right?
Oh man, everyone right there.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah, if we could go back. But I had a student, and look, I have them from all walks of life, right? They're not all young. I mean, this is a state college. It's open to everyone. So I had a guy. Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I had a guy, and he's like, "So wait a minute, you're telling me this is 10 years before like I can see like this come to fruition?" And I'm like, "Well, like I'm trying to not backpedal, but I'm just trying to explain like everybody's journey is different. Like I don't know. I can't. This is all up to you. I'm just letting you know that like if you want to
at 3 hours a day, yes.
Yeah.
For you,
I'm
it's
like-
going to take 10 years.
I'm like, if you want to consider yourself, I was like, look, if you have doctors to choose from, right? They're going to perform a surgery on you that could save your life. And do you want the guy that has like the 10,000 hours and it took him 10 years to get it or more? Or do you want what you're trying to tell me that you need? Like which doctor do you want? Mm-hmm. And, he's like, well, dude, I'm 30 years old. Like I can't be 40. I got I'm like, I get it. But you're, like those are your life choices. Just like this one will
I'd be like,
your life
well,
choice.
I mean, you could try to sell crack. Maybe it's making a comeback.
Yeah.
OnlyFans that butthole, son.
Yeah, there's no get rich quick thing, man.
There's not.
The only man.
And I tell the students all the time, I'm like, look, people in general that want to complain, I'm like, look, I don't fucking make the rules, right? It's a fucked up game. It is a game. It's fucked. It sucks. It's not fair. But life's not fair. Nature's not fair.
Yeah.
I don't make the rules. I've just learned in my own world how to play by them. So I'm trying to just share a little bit with you on how you can do that. And look, you don't want to go into a large university is either financially not viable or possible, or you're not capable of dealing with the workload that comes with that.
Yeah.
So, right now you are essentially in fucking 13th grade and, this is kindergarten college. This is as easy as it gets. So, this is a come to Jesus meeting with yourself. And you're also, if you're young, you're at an opportunity where you're still throwing darts.
Yeah.
Like take a semester here. If you don't like this, if you don't like if you don't like the nuts and bolts of this, there is another trade bar right next door that has, 8+ different things you can learn. And there's one next to that.
Well, and I can tell you it's a hell of a lot cheaper than what my master's degree costs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, this could be a springboard. That's what I try to tell them too. I'm like, look, I went through, I didn't have an appreciation for education. All I knew is it wasn't for me. Right.
Yeah.
And, I kind of force fed myself through a program and, got a degree. And then it wasn't until I stayed in the education, that I realized how important that is. And the older you get, the more mature you are, that like a lot of that material becomes a lot more, easy to digest, especially when you're immersed in it on the training side. And it's not for everybody. Like, I have a retired admiral for the Navy. That's one of my students. He's there on his GI. But yeah, this guy's older than me.
You have to salute him when you walk in.
I was like, this is the most awkward shit I've ever, And he's calling me, Professor Godinez. And I'm like, oh man, this is like really awkward.
Yeah.
But And
Sir, yes, sir.
He's been in the private sector, but he does a lot of he works for a lot of large corporations where he does a lot of analytical training and hiring. So he runs these lie detector tests, and they'll come in for when they're hiring CEOs or administrative positions, and they'll put them through these rigorous interview processes, and he's the guy that sits in there to determine what he's observing from this person. So
Does he let you call him Admiral?
No. I just call him Junior. His name is Winfred, and he looks like a Winfred, but I call him Junior. But he's
Never met a Winfred.
I haven't either.
Admiral is one of the coolest names you could have as far as like a nickname.
Yeah.
So to actually earn it, and
David Robinson.
So I have a retired.
In what branch was he?
The Navy. I have a retired, so he's Navy. I have another guy, Jimmy, who's a retired major in the Marines, who spent 15 years, still has property in the Middle East, but spent 15 years in the Middle East.
So is he more a maverick or a goose, the Navy guy?
He's a maverick.
He's a maverick?
He's a wild man.
So
dude.
on the whole school, like I was just thinking about this, trying to apply, because I've taught myself how to do a lot of things I do through YouTube and things like that, and just knowing people. But I think that, for some people, they can look at it like this, like there's mountains of information out there, and technique and training and stuff. You can find a lot of shit through YouTube. What you can't find through YouTube is forced application. Like you can watch all the videos you want, but if you never go pick up a camera, you'll never take a picture, right? If you can watch all the videos you want, but you never pick up a paint gun, you'll never try it, a welder, whatever the case may be. And so for those people that have consumed information so much, but they've never taken the jump to actually put their hands on the product and try it, I think that's where school really comes into play now, to where there's the learning aspect, but then there's the applied science of it, right? And I think for people that are out there that are lost and trying to find something for themselves, because I know what it's like to find a YouTube video and get inspired to try something, but then you're like, well, fuck, I don't have a $4,000 camera.
Right.
How do I even start this?
Yeah.
You're like, well, do it on your iPhone. I'm like, that doesn't look as cool as that shit over there looks.
Right.
So, or whatever the case may be. And so that's where I think schooling can come into play and give you the applied aspect as well as the teaching aspect, right?
Right. And it really, you just want to, for the young students, right? They're like, so I have older students, obviously, that are, on their GI Bill or whatever, and they're working on their second career, or just they want to learn how to do this and work in the garage. But, for a lot of the young students, you're just trying to give them exposure.
Yeah.
Right. So, I want to share as much of the information that I have and people that maybe I know that I can share with them that, hey, look, this can go lots of different ways. If this inspires you to keep on going and work on a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, then great. There's a place for you for that. I mean, you will be rewarded for that. But you can also just come here and do your 2 years, learn a skill set. We're going to help you find a job, and the rest is on you.
Yeah.
And you'll have a great skill. You'll have a degree that will take care of you when you get older, and your body doesn't work like it used to. And in the meantime, you'll have your hands and your mind to provide for you. I always try to tell them, like, look, worst case scenario is world goes to hell in a handbasket, and we're all in a Mad Max scenario. Look, everybody needs a welder. Right. If you can weld, you're going to be just fine. If you can build stuff, right, you can change tires, fix flats. Like that part is never like,
I can TikTok dance.
Yeah. What's so weird is like
Jackson Mahomes.
What's so weird is
get the rope.
Get the rope. Yeah, I'll make references to some social media stuff, and most of them are just kind of, not a lot of my students are big.
The younger ones too?
Huh? The younger ones,
Really?
yeah. It's very interesting. Now, look, I have just a small, group. We're talking maybe, less than 50
His group
students.
does not make up the whole
No.
of the...
Well, we're talking
No.
like the repost king right here too.
Yeah.
So like all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, well, there's no reason a 48-year-old man should be knowing more about TikTok and Instagram than you. But they just seem a little either that or they're not sharing. They, like I'm not gonna talk about this with my professor, but
That's fair.
It's very. I have high hopes for the working class, especially in Dallas, with what I see. That's just my personal take.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, having skills is I mean, I don't live my life in fear of like ever being homeless or broke.
Nope.
I might never be rich, but I'll never like struggle to feed myself or whatever.
No.
So
Have a roof over my head and
yeah. And with that being said, it's like, being able to have like a plethora of things that I can do. It's like I wish people didn't think about their life as I need to learn this one thing and then I'm good. Like to me, it's about acquiring as much knowledge and much skills and as much things that, especially when they're all kind of work around the same kind of subject, because you can kind of find more angles to kind of stab at it and be a part of it. And, like you were saying, it's like not everybody is going to become a body tech, but they could be the guy selling the products. Yeah. They could be the guy, writing the estimates. There's so many different jobs within every industry. And, fuck, man, like.
I mean, I've worked with guys that were, started on like pushing a broom. And then they work with a tech and they're helping the tech for a little while. And then I'm really attracted to the estimating portion. They end up in estimating. And they formed a relationship with a customer. I have one guy in particular, great estimator, incredible. Worked for Progressive Insurance, started in the shop, kind of knew everything.
New flow, I bet.
Huh?
New flow, I bet.
I don't know. I'll have to ask. But when he got out of high school, he had worked in shops before, was always into cars. When he got out of college, Progressive was there, hired him. And he bounced around between estimating and shops. And then, anyway, he ends up at BMW. He's an estimator. He's one of their, top estimators. Amazing dude. Super sharp, very thorough. And he has a customer that he forms a relationship. A guy owns a pipe fitting company that made pipe fittings and things like that, drilling equipment for the oil and gas industry. It was him and 4 partners, and they were looking for their replacements. They were all in their late 60s, early 70s. They wanted to get rid of the business, but they were trying to find replacements for their particular roles. Had gotten really close with Jason and was like, hey, I think you're the guy that could take my spot. And they went through an interview process, had him kind of do some working interviews, but he ended up in the oil and gas industry out of just the skills that he learned as an estimator to just, his ability to sell and how thorough he was, communicate. Yeah. That's why I try to tell my students, I'm like, I don't know where your path ends. I really don't. All I can try to inspire in you is some confidence. So to learn a skill set that will instill some confidence that might give you the drive to try different things. That's why I want you to know some of the people that I know and that I'm around that inspire me, because, you need that. You need that at that age.
And I think it's okay to try something different. Primary example, myself, I went into consulting just to try something different. Spent most of my years in marketing and product development. Went into consulting, actually hate it. Mm-hmm. And I'm probably going to be doing something different within the next 6 months. And so it's it's okay to step into something that you want to see what it's like and realize, hey, this is not for me. Yeah. And go and
it's good to check that box off and put it behind you versus living with the idea of maybe or maybe not, right?
Well, exactly. To also put yourself in a position to have the option. I want to try this. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And then if it doesn't work out, I can fall back and I can do this. Or sure. I have put myself in a position. That's the whole thing, is don't let life make your decisions for you. Do things in life where you get to make those decisions for yourself. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing that I want them to be masters of their own domain. Don't just fumble through life if I get her pregnant, then this is going to happen, and that just determines your life path.
You can end that baby's life.
Not in Texas.
Oklahoma's a short drive.
Well,
I gotta go to New
whatever
Mexico.
it may be, you know, some people just fiddle fart around with. It's just trying to get them to have some accountability. I can't get coat hangers out of my mind right now. Bro, I had one of my earliest jobs. We would drive up and down Forest Lane, and the salesman that I worked with, there'd always be a bunch of protesters outside of an abortion clinic on Forest Lane, and he would go by. He'd grab all of his work shirt coat hangers and keep them in the back. And every time we went by, he'd throw them out at the protesters.
Oh man, that's great. Well, I don't know, man. It's just like the whole work world is like I think for me, like we're all kind of in different spots. Like you went completely through college. Me and you kind of both went down the path of like this, and you're still way more corporate than I am. You know what I mean? Even though you're, you know, doing that, but it's like I think that like you know, for people out there that are trying to find out like what they might want to do with their life as far as like paths, I mean, there's just so many options. It's overwhelming, but you really got to like start to, I think that you got to start to be honest with yourself and figure out the lifestyle you want and chase the things that are going to give you that. And be realistic with yourself. Yeah, I want the lifestyle of Dan Blazarian, but that ain't about to happen for me, right? So I'm not even going to, like, don't be unrealistic. Don't sell yourself short, but don't be unrealistic to things that you can achieve. And if you set your goals at a certain achievable level, then when you get to there, your perspective and your goals may change and open up different paths, right? So, and that's how, to me, that's how I'm kind of wandering through life, by having a shorter goal that once I get there, then I reassess it and see if this is where I want to be, or if something else has become more inspiring, or some other directions become more pulling to me, and that way I can go to that. And, you know, at one point it was all about trying to make the most money I possibly can and have the biggest business, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But I have a wanderlust that kind of takes me out of like wanting to be stationary in a shop all the time. So I had to completely restructure my entire brand's existence to fit this need that I have to be on the road and find a way to make money and survive while doing that, right? Because, I mean, yeah, I can shut this podcast down, shut the traveling down, and open up the paint doors, and let's just fucking go.
Right.
Life would be easy financially, but mentally...
We'd be on the lake skiing behind Jace's boat.
Yeah. But mentally, I would not... It wouldn't do it for me, you know?
You'd be checked out.
Yeah, it's like... And I've met too many people like that just went through the motions of making enough money to buy the things they need to fit the looks that they need in the circles that they're in. And part of me likes being this guy that does shit that most people don't want to do, because, you know, they might not want to do it now, but when they hit that crossroads in their life when nothing else makes sense, all the shit they bought doesn't fulfill them anymore, there's going to be things in life that you know, may or may not, let's be real, come into play where they're like, oh, fuck, like this, who would have thought that I didn't need to have a $70,000 bike to fulfill my needs for motorcycles, right? But then again, sometimes they might always need that, right? Life is a Confucius, man. It's always going to be contradicting. That's probably one of the main things I've learned so far in my 40 years is like, everything in life is contradicting. There's everything that you think is right here, there's a contradiction across the table that also actually fits the bill as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's just about what fucking works for you at the moment, and hopefully it's not like something that's going to tear up your life, right?
Right.
Like you never want to go full fucking into the wild guy, right? Like burn your money and your car in the desert kind of shit.
No.
But if you want to get the wanderlust out, find a way to kind of allow yourself the freedom that you need to be able to do it and experience it, and then make decisions to go further into that world based on if it resonates or not. You know what I mean?
You know, the young people always have all this tremendous amount of pressure, and it starts in high school, and, you know, like with, you know, career counselors, you know, they're in high school, and our focus is not broadening their horizons, We have these stringent testing measures, this stringent, program. But we have career counselors in high school that are already prepping kids. Well, it's your junior year. We need to really start working on that GPA if you want to get into Texas Tech. If you're going to drop $100,000 on student loans, you need to make sure you have a job.
Shouldn't you be worrying about that earlier than junior year?
Yeah, right, but it starts as soon as they hit high school. I mean, really, freshman year is when you start to see and there's never any alternatives. Of course, social media's really changed a lot of that because they're like, oh, I can just pretend I'm some kind of anime character on TikTok and make $4,500 a day.
Ice cream, good, yum.
Yeah. What the fuck, dude? I was like, we're ruined as a society.
Yeah, dude.
I will never understand that. I'm like, you could just turn a video game on and create a character and just let that fucking thing float in front of you, right?
I think that's the. But getting deeper into this theory of life, it's every year it seems like with the new things that come out in technology, whether it's a social media platform or some kind of type of game, like who would ever thought that Fortnite would have become the kind of game that it is? I have no desire to ever play it. As somebody who likes playing video games, it just doesn't resonate with me.
Right.
But how big it is for a world, right? And for people to find ways to make money with it in all these genres or domains is kind of crazy to me, and I watched a video about the NPC kind of thing that these chicks were doing, and it was kind of it's kind of weird, right? But at the same time, this chick's holding, so she's holding a flat iron with popcorn kernels in it. She's doing this NPC thing. And there's all these things going on the screen, and it's some kind of thing that I watched a video on. What's crazy is I'm watching a video on this, right? To understand what the fuck is going on.
Right.
And basically, I'm a guy over here west sanding parts. Oh, well, fuck me.
Right.
Right? But, I mean, it's only going to go it's just going to keep going further and further, and there's going to be more ways for individuals to monetize their lives through, crowdfunding like Patreon. Crazy thing is we're not live, which is cool, so I could probably cut this out, but at the same time it's since I started giving away helmets, every month I do a helmet, I've lost more money on my Patreon than I've ever gained.
That's crazy.
So it's I've already committed to giving away 6 fucking one every month for the rest of the year, and I'm God damn, dude, it's just kicking my ass. What the fuck am I doing this for? You know what I mean?
Really?
So it's I could just sell them.
Right.
If I sold 6 helmets, I'd make more money off selling 6 helmets than I do for the Patreon for the whole fucking year, right? But still love you guys. I gotta remember to cut that out. But at the same time, it's in order to make something like Patreon good, I need to hire somebody so that every day there's something being done that's made specifically for Patreon, right? And then we got to make this other stuff. It's this. What I try to tell people is when you get into this boat, and you can watch other creators, content creators or video people or whatever, you can watch this. And the way to make money on YouTube is to keep pumping videos out all the time. Mm-hmm. And what happens is you can make great quality videos, but it's the quantity, not the quality. And so what happens is you put out all these really great videos, but then you realize, it doesn't matter that these are 10 amazing videos. I need to do 10 amazing videos a month, period. Right. No matter how good or bad they are. And next thing you know, it's okay, well, I'm not making anything for me or the concept of making. I'm making it to fit in the algorithm of this world of creating things. And so it just kind of takes the wind out of your sails. Yeah. I got footage. I want to make a badass video about said subject. But if it got 1 million views, it's only going to make me $1,000 once, right? You know what I mean? Or maybe a little more than 1,000, but it's only going to be one paycheck, right? And $1,000 when it's fuck, man, I got 20 grand in camera equipment,
right?
You know what I mean? It doesn't ever. So how do you I want to create stuff that resonates with people, but I don't necessarily want to create constant flow of shit just to put a constant flow of shit out there. I'd rather make less stuff and at a higher quality, but there's no market for quality.
You're not rewarded for that. You're not monetized for that.
So I mean, you know, I could do like these little short, like it literally. I mean, this is kind of a fucking funny thing, but I could just make stupid little, hey guys, coming to the shop today, doing this, blah blah blah, and like really tell like you got nothing out of this video, but if I do it every week, it would gain more traction and the YouTube would grow and I'd make more money that way. As opposed to like if someone is like really gaining value out of this and it's actually a good video, it's like the opposite of movies, right?
Well, I've unfollowed more accounts because it's all clickbait, right? So it's like today, you know, this, or there'll be some clickbaity.
Did I
caption
drop
title.
this bike?
Yes,
or whatever. You know,
right. And you've got to watch this whole stupid 10-minute, 15-minute video just to find out. Well, tune in tomorrow, and I'll fill you in on.
So to that point, I've actually now. I've seen a lot of posts recently that says like wait till the end, and I'll immediately pass by it because I'm like that's fucking annoying.
Yeah,
like the ones that said like oh wait for the end or like,
but it's all like it's clickbait, right? Like
that's exactly what
the point
it is.
of making a video is to take somebody through a journey. It's like a song.
Yeah.
If the song is only good in the last minute, then you don't have a great song.
No.
Right.
No.
So make something that like takes them from this point to this point. And I'm not saying that like I'm not trying to say that like I got the best shit and it's great. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But it's not the world that we live in. It's not conducive to create somebody that is great at that because it's not rewarded.
Right.
If you have a great video, then first off, it's like if it doesn't click if you don't have the retention within the video watch for the first couple of seconds, then it doesn't fit the algorithm for YouTube. Therefore, bam, it's gone.
Right.
Right. I don't necessarily think that the Matt Jackson podcast I did was some epic podcast. I just happened to put together an intro that fell into an algorithm, and now that thing's got 250,000 views on it, right? I'll take it.
Right.
But at the same time, like the Max Shaft podcast is just an audio version. It's an amazing fucking podcast.
It's really good.
It's an amazing podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want the content, the content's there. It's just that if you need it to be packaged and you need me to skip to it or some shit like that, like that's what I don't get about this world is like people want content, but they don't fucking really want it. They want they
want it easy.
They want it easy and they want it fucking like. I guess it's the point of like reading right now. Like who wants to read? Why fucking read when you can go watch YouTube videos, right? But it's like. Fuck, man. Like, I feel more connected to it, man. It's weird.
But it's almost if I have to explain it, then we don't need to really have this conversation.
I've been going down this blog thing, and I've been just every night I'm reading blogs from 2012 from motorcycle people, and I'm more connected to that than any fucking thing else right now. And I think it's because I'm on a wavelength that's resonating with me. But it's at the same time, it's like this is also before like. We've all been conditioned to post things on social media in a way that's conducive to the nature of what social media is. Like we tried to be real on social media back in the early days of Facebook, and we realized that, hey, I probably shouldn't put all this out there, right? I probably don't need to talk about how I just broke up with my girlfriend, and then I got to change it back to in a relationship the next day, right? There's a lot of things that we've gotten conditioned to not really put out there in the world, but a blog or someone writing about a certain situation, for me, I've connected to that more because it feels more like I'm really a part of whatever that post was about or this subject was about. And because it's not like given to me, I have to do something to get it. I feel like I'm feel more accomplished after consuming that, right?
Right.
As opposed to like I'm conditioned to do this. I'm on a YouTube video and they start talking about something I think is going to take about 30 seconds. Bam, 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 bam. I skip through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it sucks because like I don't want them to do that to me when I'm making something.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm doing it to them.
Right.
I'm not doing that when I read a blog post though.
No,
I'm reading it.
You're reading it.
I'm absorbing it all to try to understand what this person's trying to put out there.
Yeah.
So I think it's like the way like when you go to a movie, you don't fast forward through the movie. You go sit down and you're a part of this experience to see this thing, right?
Sure.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like as someone that wants to create good things. And someone I feel like I have premises that I think maybe could be good. I don't want to waste them.
Right.
You know, I don't want to waste it on a fucking like, you know, this video that's gonna, you know, I picked the wrong fucking intro song, so it's like skip.
You're out.
So you talked about Facebook there. 2 years ago, I interviewed with Facebook and didn't get it because literally the final interview, the final question was, do you remember the feature, the Facebook poke? I'm like, well, yeah. He goes, you're now tasked with revitalizing Facebook poke. Tell me how you would do it. And I go, well, that was the dumbest thing ever. So I wouldn't. I actually wouldn't.
Thanks for trying out, buddy.
They want to get you. They hope you have a good idea. They can just not hire you, but bring it back. Yeah, that's a weird question to ask. Like how?
Yeah.
Like why would you? Like that would seem like.
I was like, seriously, that was the stupidest thing ever. And like, I mean, because like literally, you would just poke someone, and then like they could poke you back, but then it was over with. I don't know. So
Yeah, it's like it went nowhere.
Yeah.
I've never been on Facebook, so I don't know.
oh,
For real.
Never.
Take
Never.
you for a Facebook guy.
Nope.
yeah.
Nope. Never had Facebook. Never.
I got rid of it in
If
2016.
there is
I
a
think.
Marcus Cadenas on Facebook, it's not me.
I got rid of it in 2016, but I had it. So I got it
College,
in,
right?
I got it in college because at the time, you could only certain colleges could access it.
Yeah.
You had to use your university ID or email. And yeah, I had it in 2003, I think, is when it first came out, or 2004 maybe. And yeah, and back then they had you could only have one picture. There was, I mean, and it was like, and then just your basic information. Like there was no mini feed or wall or anything like
Yeah,
that.
there wasn't a whole lot of shit. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that it was like, yeah, how would you bring back the poke feature? And I was like, I wouldn't.
Mine was like, the only reason. Well, it was a godsend. Why when I never got one, but I think my feelings were so hurt over like MySpace.
yeah.
You
Just
know?
if it dying or what?
Yeah, like, oh no, you got to try this new thing, and I'm like, you know what? I had to do this with video games as a kid, and
You're too loyal to Tom.
I couldn't really afford it back then. Like, I'm just too. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like if there's going to be a new thing that I've got to invest time into to like figure out, learn, navigate, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it.
Well, there was a point in time where, like, this is the part I miss about Instagram is when it was just cool to have an Instagram, and if people that you knew or family or friends or you found new people through it, it was just a simple, like, window into your life. It wasn't so much this curated version of your life for the idea of becoming anything other than just who I am on Instagram, right? And you see that because a lot of people that stay along, even though like their lives don't necessarily pan out to be what they would consider Instagram quality, they become the meme people. They become and I'm not talking shit like all meme people are that. They just become people that are reposting everything in their life because, like they're staying connected to it. But, what do you, I mean, that's even like kind of a far stretch because I just feel like why? Like, I've said this before. It's like there was a point in time where social media was about being social, and now it's just media. Now we're all just like selling everything that we wear on our bodies and put and do in our life for the sake of like maybe Kraft Macaroni will see this post and sponsor me, right? Or maybe I could go down this path, and that's why it's like a weird place to be as a biker now, is because there's a lot of people that are coming into bikes because it's it's a world of. There's something here, right? There's people here. There's a way for an attractive woman or an attractive man who looks good on social media to thrive in this ecosystem, right? Not mad at that. But just social media in general has turned into this place where we're all like conditioned to curate ourselves in a marketable way instead of just in a way of like, this is who I am, Yeah,
I don't know. The whole monetizing your life for, I don't know. That seems foreign to me. Of course mine's, always been very kind of private account, always just want to, for me, it's a way to meet new friends, especially in the motorcycle community, and then just stay connected with said friends.
Yeah. On that wavelength, like that's probably the best version of it. It's like, because no doubt, like the ability to meet people and whatnot, it's just that as Instagram's gotten older, the barriers between the connections of people have gotten harder. Like, for me, and I'm not trying to be like high and mighty or whatever, but like I don't answer a lot of messages, almost any.
I mean, it would almost be impossible.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying because there's so many. I just don't have. I don't know how to like. I don't know how to care. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know,
I get it.
Not that what they're saying
Right.
might not be real or whatever. I just don't know how to like okay, if I answer this or whatever, then where does this go? Like how long, how deep? And it sucks because they're genuine people, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's got to be some genuine people reaching out, and I've just kind of made it to where it's like, okay, well maybe I need to catch you at an event.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where like I need to have real connections with people at events and not through social media.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That way we both equally came to this place
Right.
and met each other like a bike night or a
Right.
fucking camp out or Sturgis or Born Free or whatever. Or at a gas station randomly. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's kind of like I kind of miss those interactions of meeting people versus like, like somebody I finally respond to, and then I realize that I haven't responded to 400 messages over the last 3 years. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm an asshole for sure.
That's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep it as
Just a bunch of fire emojis from me.
thumbs up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I just hate that's kind of where it's become. But social media is like, to me right now at this point, like it's just something I have because I'm scared to get rid of it because I don't know how much of my existence I owe to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like you're just gonna just have a website and God, peace be with me.
I mean, I'm doing this blog shit right now. It's like I'm not doing it because I think I'm gonna get fucking famous off it or I'm not gonna like. It's a fucking blog. It's words. Half
Right.
people are gonna like, this dude's writing. Who the fuck wants writing? Do a vlog like an adult. You know what I mean? But
No, but there's still lots of blogs that are. I think that's one of the fascinating things was, before we're outside the gatekeeper society. That's one of the nice things with the internet, and social media is like all the gatekeepers that you had to go through. So if you wanted something published that you wanted anybody, you had to go through a publisher. So
Yeah.
you had a bunch of dudes that were going to sit around and be like, yeah, this is viable enough for us to print, put on paper, and distribute, and people will read it. Well, now you don't have those gatekeepers anymore. You can sit here at your laptop and just write a story, and you can just let people decide. And it's all organic. Somebody reads it, they share it with someone else, they share it with someone else, they share it, so it
Yeah.
grows organically, which is the best way for it to
yeah,
grow.
and that's kind of the premise. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather as I'm writing this stuff, as I'm not necessarily like proficient at it, to grow organically and not have like, that's kind of been always the scary thing about doing videos is like if you have an audience already and you try to do something you're not good at, then you're kind of judged from why you have an audience. Like they expect you to be on this level because of them already kind of, you know what I mean? Like when you watch Jordan
Yeah.
go play baseball, you just expect him to be good at it because he's fucking Michael Jordan. It's like, is he allowed to not be good at something else,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's like, and I'm not trying to say I'm Michael Jordan or anything. I'm just saying like when you have
No,
something,
but it's a good analogy.
yeah.
Like just because he's a premier professional athlete doesn't mean he's a premier professional athlete in all sports pursued.
Yeah. So that's kind of the concept is, and like I said, I want to get good at writing. I want to do those things. And I've enjoyed reading blogs, and now I'm fucking at this point where it's like, well, shit, maybe that's a way I can show people some photography that doesn't really have a home. Like all those pictures of us at that Winton's party, they're fun pictures to kind of tell the story, but they're not necessarily pictures that I'm going to put on my social media. They
Right.
don't have anything to do with me, or they're not Pulitzer Prize winning photos. You know
But
what I'm
how
saying?
many of those pictures, when they're attached to a narrative, actually have a story to tell or a
Yeah,
presence?
For sure.
Exactly. And so that's kind of the concept is like, it's a home for the things that I've been trying to find a home for. And I like the fact that when you go to my website and you click on that photo, hopefully you're on a desktop or a laptop, you see it at real quality. So you can actually see the quality of a photo instead of like on your phone where every photo you put in Instagram gets like compressed into this like very, very flat image that doesn't have any depth to it. You
Yeah.
can't click the photo and it puts it in a larger
Right.
thing that you can zoom in and see all the detail and stuff. So to me, I just enjoy it more. And I mean, I was tonight. I was initially wanting to work on another blog, but it's fucking 10 o'clock at night. We had that storm and everything, and it kind of put us behind. And I have a lot of YouTube videos I got to put out. We got a good one this last week going to do the seat situation, but I still have stuff that I need to put out before that one can come out, so that it's not like people aren't lost in like where we're at in this FXR tour shit. But dude, I don't have time.
You are a busy man.
I don't have time.
I'm stoked for you guys on the FXR tour.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, everybody's. You guys are all fucking mad, man. But everybody looks like they're tracking really well. Like everybody's bikes looks really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see how it all plays out. So
it's fun, man. It's good. You know, having a purpose to build something, you know, is kind of like, it's what I think it's what really you need as like someone that wants to create stuff. It's like, you know, why else justify all the money and all the sacrifices, all the time, all the headaches, why else sacrifice that just for anything, right? Mm-hmm. If all it was for me to just go ride this thing across country and have fun on it, I could have done that on so many other versions of this, right? But I'm enjoying the fact that it's kind of pushing me to do some stuff that I haven't done in a long time on a motorcycle, as far as like the way I would modify them, because the last couple of years, the way I've been modifying the bikes or customizing them, if you will, has just been cosmetically and a little bit of performance just to kind of add comfort and a little bit more power and braking and suspension, right? But I'm not going to the nines like like Jake did on their last build. Like that's something that, like, for what I plan to do on this bike, yes, they can do that on that bike and it'd be great at it, but there's also like, why go that far?
For
right?
sure.
So
Yeah.
A reason to go that far has kind of been fun. Not that I'm going as far as he did, but just my version of that within the parameters of what that bike will allow
your
me.
First, I mean, no, it's a suspension chopper. This is your first chopper.
Yeah. First in that world. And the first time I've done like, well, I guess the T-Sport was kind of a frame off, but that was kind of like a budget build, if you will.
Yeah, all the pieces were there.
Yeah, the pieces were there. I just had to, recoat them and refinish them, right? This is kind of different. And what's cool is like you look at every part of this bike different than you look at like a bagger. Like when I look at a bagger, I don't look at it like, okay, the back end's this, now the bulk of it's this, now I got to focus on the front end. It's more like I just need to get a good headlight in the front. I need to get the right bars. I need to get the right exhaust, maybe a motor, wheels, suspension. Like there's a kit to it. And like that blog that I put out about, this FXR tour, I don't know if I really articulated it the way that I really wanted to, but the concept is the last handful of bikes that I've, like I said, very lightly customized to fit the world that I needed to be in, have all been to try to fit within the box of appeasing a certain world, right? And this thing is an acquired taste for most people. Like most people are going to look at these bikes that come out of the FXR tour. So a lot of people are going to be drawn to Justin's, right? A lot of people are going to be drawn to the FXR division. There's so many different bikes, and it's really going to speak to someone's style of what they're interested in, right? I don't expect anybody to like my bike, right? Because it's not necessarily what's common in that world. But for me, I'm finding that like I'm less concerned with that outside narrative and more concerned with like, I see this in my head and I want it. So it's like, it really does feel like a build for myself rather than a build for a narrative per se.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, what I can say from my personal scene, and I am not the, and we've had this conversation, like I don't get huge boners off of FXRs, like me personally, like that's, but when I saw that bike sitting down there, I was like, that looks good.
Yeah.
That
looks really good.
That looks damn good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and not even like as it sits, it looks good. Not even like in your drawings. So it's like one of those things where if you have those like FXR loyalists, they're probably the ones that might hate on that.
They're going to hate on it for sure.
No, they're going to be Superman.
But everyone else, like
so pissed.
like myself and like,
I think sometimes not already having a palette of how FXRs taste, that might work because you're not like,
You're not locked in.
you're not subjected to what they should look like. But at the same time, I was able to have a conversation with the guy that has that Frisco chopper, the Frisco FXR that I put in the blog that was about kind of where the initial, like that dude built that bike in 2012, rides it every day, lives in San Francisco.
Really?
You know, the day he went on that test run, they took that photo, and I'm like, I'm going to get to meet this dude and hang out with him. And for me, that's like a kind of like a celebrity in my world of like somebody that's inspired me to do this shit. Right. Mm-hmm. So, but like I said, I don't, this bike for me is like checking a lot of boxes for myself. And I think that like what I'm getting at is that when I am out after this tour is all said and done and I'm on my next trip and I'm alone in some part of the country by myself, nobody else's opinion about this bike's going to matter.
Right.
It's just going to be like my connection to this bike in this moment. And so like the more true you say to yourself and what you want, and don't get me wrong, like I've thought in the last couple of bikes that I've done something for myself, but I realized it was for myself to appease a world, right?
Definitely.
And I'm hoping that that's not the case because it feels different. And it could be the same case. I could be subconsciously not aware of the fact that I'm still appeasing a world out there that I'm, but I think it's for me. I think this is for me, right?
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a weirdo bike.
Yeah.
I mean, like when I don't. So I'm a purist with choppers in the sense that they don't have they have front suspension. That's it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I saw Mike's, FXR Mike's, when I was like, that is I got like the light bulb hit. His was just done so well and so tastefully, and real chopper style in his garage. So and after that, then you start to see all these other different variations, and I even looked at some of the Dyna choppers. I'm like, this is wild, And then seeing Bare Knuckle Paul's in person at Born Free, I was like, yo, this gets wild. Yeah. Like you can do some really cool shit. And we've seen over the last, 5 years roughly, where you start to see a lot more, even on hardtail choppers, a lot more performance oriented stuff, brakes, suspension, front suspension, start to get incorporated into, into a lot of these choppers. So I think this is just the natural progression. And if you're going to build something like you're building down there, it is for you. I mean, this is not a mass consumption motorcycle. Yeah. You're not building this motorcycle you're not building it for pats on the back. You're building it because, this is what I think is cool. This is my interpretation, my version of it, and how I see it. And you're in a unique opportunity where you get to do that. And I think that's what's cool about a lot of people that are doing builds on this FXR tour is you are seeing their interpretation of that particular platform.
You know what I like about it? Like Corey is a great example. It's a culmination of all the things that they've done in their past and where they decided to end up and how they decided to do it. Because if you look at like Corey's, M8 FXR, right? First off, if you don't know what you're looking at, you're going to overlook so much shit, right?
You would think it was a brand new motorcycle.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'd never know.
Yep.
But at the same time, like he's known for building very clean. I mean, if you take his Sportster chopper with the girder front end and all that type of shit, and you say this guy also built this FXR over here,
nobody would know.
You're not. No. It's not. So it's like when I say that the how everybody has evolved and where they're at and what they're building at this time in life is kind of like a timestamp in everybody's like lineage, if you will, or their legacy or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And it's funny that we meet Corey at this point where he's building these, for lack of a better term, understated but highly meticulous builds that require an eye to understand what was done.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm downplaying what he's doing right now by saying it that way. But even the ST inspired bike that he's doing now is full of the same high level, a little more custom on this one than his last one. And then you look at I don't know if you've heard, but some of the stuff that I've seen in our group chat for what FXR division.
I can't wait.
These
to
guys
see what
are doing.
They're going to come out with.
I mean,
I've seen snippets of.
They're going to blow. There's some. If you've thought of FXRs, like the FXR world, I think has been kind of tame compared to what's about to come out from not me, but what's about to come out from some of these other guys.
That's what I think. This is the best takeaway from what this particular tour is going to do for this platform of motorcycle is you are seeing guys that are getting, because it's a group of people that are all trying to impress each other with what's going to come out.
See, I'm not a fabricator, so I don't have this I'm like, hey Corey, this is what I want. Corey took my idea, made it even better than I could imagine.
Right.
And so in the fabrication side, I'm stuck with this. Like he gave me the canvas, right? The shape of this canvas that I now have to make mine, right? These other guys with CNC machines and the fabrication skills, they can reshape and recreate their canvas all day long, right? And that's the edge up that they have as far as that. So I think that they can get in a group chat and see what someone else did and go back to the drawing board. I can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't go back to, hey, Corey, I don't know if I like this tank anymore. Like, I'm married to that tank no matter what. If there's something cool that comes along, maybe on the next build. This one is this.
Right.
So, for the sense, when I just say, I'm building this for me, I don't think that it's, I think that there's going to be a handful of, I think most of the other bikes on this tour are going to have much more of a stare at it factor and dive in and really see what they're doing. Depending on how all their finishes come out will depend on how it looks on a grand scheme, but you'll be able to everybody else's bike to so much more degree than mine. I am always about I want my bike to have an experience, a vibe that I feel like when you see it going on the road, it appeals to you, or at least it makes me feel like it appeals to you. I feel cool riding this thing. You know what I mean?
I can't wait to see some of the images, to see you on a
Well, and what's crazy too is
I'm trying to lose weight, so I don't have a good.
Can you use Trey as your model again?
Yeah, I got to.
I'm actually kind of intrigued on how much, and maybe it's just because that's what he's reposting, but the hate that Rennie's getting about his tank.
Well, what people don't know, and I'm sorry, Rennie, I'm spilling the bags, is that the other side of that tank was already dented in. So people think that Rennie was beating in a perfectly brand new tank that had a good paint job on it, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And he's doing that. What people don't understand is all that creates more attention towards it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Rennie's playing the algorithm against all these people.
Yeah.
Those people that are mad at him, they're not his customer.
No.
For sure.
But because they're mad at him and they're saying something, they're going to put his bike in front of his
He gets
customer.
engagement. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just it's a boomer generation versus somebody that knows how to use social media and marketing.
Sure.
But I'm probably pretty connected to Rennie's bike because I love the apes, the Springer, the look. There's a lot of things going on in his bike that fit me, and something that if I was going to go down another version of a chopper on FXR,
His would be mine.
It would be that.
It would be that one. It would be that one. Yeah.
I love that bike.
I do too.
It's got a vibe,
Yeah, the stance is perfect. But yeah, that Springer front end and the on an FXR chopper, and him trying to capture the Indian Larry essence in an FXR chopper. I mean, this one's doing it.
Yeah,
it's doing it.
Mm-hmm. So there's like I said, when you put all these 10 bikes together, I think a lot of people are going to be pretty astounded by how different a lot of these bikes are.
For sure.
I think me and Paul's will have a similar stance, but very, very different in the actual nuts and bolts of it. Mm-hmm. Paul's, he's already kind of talked about, but he's doing a supercharger and a monoshock frame, right? So, and it's a kind of a D-rake style FXR chopper. So it's got a lot going on. But he's also, that's something I would expect from a guy like that, or I wouldn't be surprised from a guy like that has that much ability to create in that way. He's got an old knucklehead chopper that's probably one of my favorite of all time. It's a St. Louis style D-rake. It was spinning he had it up at the Sturgis Museum for the last year. I think he got it back now finally.
Oh, really?
But fucking beautiful bike. Brown, took a picture of it a long time ago. Super sick.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the last, so that early 2000s, he was one of the younger guys back then that was just home running, right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And he's carried on that transition. I mean, you can put Bare Knuckle Paul in the ranks of the Indian Larrys, the Billy Lanes.
Yeah.
He's one of those last guys that took that torch and carried it. There's only a handful of those guys that we got blessed with in the motorcycle industry, especially from that era of chopper building. And, he's one of them. He's transitioned so well into the performance, well, just in motorcycles in general, just building parts for people that ride motorcycles, Harley Davidsons or American motorcycles.
Yeah.
He's done really well in just staying in tune with that.
Yeah.
Transitioning for a lot of the chopper guys did not make the transition to, let's say, the performance side or baggers. Yeah. They didn't. And he was one that did it really well. Really well. There's just a lot of guys that did not.
Well, he's been in manufacturing for a long time too.
Yeah.
So he's been like the behind the scenes guy for most of the almost every scene that's taken place in the last 20 years. Manufacturing parts for other brands and things like that. But like I said, the tour has got a lot, and so I think that this first class, this first year of the tour, I think it's going to set the standard of, all right, if you're going to be an invited builder, like you need to bring something that's you can't do your kit. You can't do your everyday thing. If you've been building FXRs for years and you got this style, like you can, but you want to use this opportunity to step outside of your box and try and see what you can create within yourself. Like, what are you capable of? Right. And I think that's one of the things that are, that's why I have a welder down there now, where I'm gonna go back to trying to do some things that I haven't done in a long time. Could be shit. It really could be shit. But we'll see. I like the idea that
you're surrounded by good people. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be okay. But as now I'm decorating the rest of this cake.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're putting the trim on it now.
My goal is to try to keep as much of it in house and try to make it look as cool. This might be kind of fucked up saying. We got to wrap it up here pretty soon. We're already
3:40.
All right. So I would just say, for me, I've always felt like sometimes I meet the most amazing fabricators that can make the most amazing machinists, fabricators, just creatives. They can make the most amazing part, this thing. If you give them this, make that as cool as possible. They can make it so fucking amazing. But a lot of them have struggled to take that and transcend it across the entire bike.
Yeah.
To make the entire bike create this vibe, using each one as a piece of that puzzle. And, myself, in my head, right? No one's gave me this idea. I feel like I see things in a very clean way to where maybe if I just apply myself a little bit more on the creative side of actually doing it, then that can be conveyed through the bikes that I do. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you have the advantage of having the overall vision and blueprint.
Yeah.
You're just having to reverse engineer, I just got to get myself to this. The hardest part I think for a lot of people is they don't have that creativity to even come up with the final result or what they want it to look like.
Yeah.
That to me is it. That's always been the struggle for me. Is having the vision to what do I want this to look like? You can look at something and have 6 ways a Sunday to screw it up. How do I get to this? It's anybody that completes a bike build, regardless of whether you like it or not, you have to respect the fact that they had a vision and they got themselves to the end of it.
Yeah, me and Rennie were talking about this because, this is Rennie's first big build, and so the things that Rennie doesn't physically do himself, same way I didn't physically do the fabrication myself.
Right.
I didn't physically make that swing on it. There's one thing that I think is a curtain over a lot of people's eyes in the motorcycle custom world is to realize that not every brand you follow online is not some do-it-all shop, right?
No.
And the difference between a lot of people is the team that you have, the connections you have to get things done and created, right? So when you when you built bikes for years, you have the coder you use to get the consistency and quality you want. You have the painter that you use that gets the consistency and quality you want. If you're not a fabricator, you have a fabricator that can bring your visions to life, right? And maybe take that twist and give you something you didn't even notice, right? Mm-hmm. Being a producer of motorcycles is taking all these different avenues and being able to put them together, whether or not you're handling some of those hats on your own or you're managing all those hats into one build, right? And so that's why I like the whole idea of, all right, well, who owns the right to say they're the builder when maybe it was the person that wanted that, maybe it was the customer where all the vision came from, and he was the conductor of that symphony to bring this music together.
Yeah.
Right. So nobody ever wants to say that because it's not sexy, right? It's not as sexy as the guy in his garage, the underdog that doesn't get the opportunity, but just fucking bent that fender over his knee and turned it into this gas tank. Like, that's the romantic idea of this world. But more often than not, I think that people, you know, and a lot of people hide this, and this is something that I've always wanted to be open with, is that I've been that guy who's done these jobs for these builders over the last 20 years that never got credit for it because they didn't want the public to know that they didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I'm just the painter aspect of what about the fabricator that made that amazing tank that'll never get credit for it, or the machinist that designed all these parts for this guy who will never get credit for it, or all these other people. It's like the idea that people just assume that one guy that's a shop who might just be a guy that sells parts.
Right.
He might not even be a mechanic. He might even be capable of changing an oil, but he's the money guy. How is that guy different from the customer? Right? Who has the vision, who puts all these people together to create the final product. Well, how is that any different?
It's how Henry Ford operated. It's how Thomas Edison operated. Yeah. You know, they get the credit for the final invention or the final product. Well, they were also, did they do all the work themselves? No. They were really great at amassing capital to fund the project and also hire the correct people that gave them, they are the ones that had the vision.
If you don't have a producer, you don't have a movie.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So, you know,
in our case, we're usually the producer and the director. We're the creative vision and the one that's figuring out how to bring all this together.
But even when you're young and you're working on those projects, you know, it's like, well, he didn't build shit. You know, all he did was write checks. You know, but okay, what if this was his vision?
Yeah.
You know, you got to be a member of that project. You know, it's hard when you're young to put yourself in that mental state to be like, well, he didn't build that, I built that. You know, well, no, you were just a member on his team.
Yeah.
You were a part of the project.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing that you have to humble yourself and be a part of it to make the bills that you want to make and decide at some point whether or not you want to bite the hand that feeds you.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, you know, like at the end of the day, the final product is what is supposed to stand the test of time. Like if you did everything yourself, I mean, Mike brought this up on the last podcast. If you do everything yourself and it's fucking stupid, is that a better bike build than me or than someone that found all the professionals to bring the best quality stuff? Maybe theoretically it is for that person because they did it themselves, but does that bike deserve to win a bike show over someone that has a better bike? No. And I mean, obviously, like we're not building these bikes to win bike shows. We're building these bikes to ride them across country with each other. Right.
That would be the most important part.
I mean, at the same time, like for me, it's like if every builder that's on this tour had a way to help me in some form or fashion to make this bike, it's just more sentimental to me.
Right.
You know, Indian Larry didn't do every part of his bike. You know, he had a team of bad motherfuckers around him.
Yeah.
All these other guys. You know what I'm saying? Jesse, I mean, think about how many people have come out of West Coast choppers in the last 20 years that are people today that do big things in our industry, right?
Yeah, well, you could say the same thing at the car industry, like Boyd Coddington.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have Chip Foose if it wasn't.
We have Jesse James.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So,
you know, all those guys were spawned out of
Carol Shelby.
Yeah. All these creative places spawned other creative people.
Yeah. So I mean, to wrap it up, we need to wrap this up. But like, yeah, the tour is about what it's been. It's just awesome. You know, the jokes, Corey did all the fab work. And I don't want to take anything away from Corey because I brought Corey an idea, and I said it before. My idea was this, and he took that idea to a level that I didn't see. So he brought it out to a level that I probably, you know, I for sure wasn't expecting it to be there. He just blew my expectations away. So now I'm, you know what I mean? Like now that's the thing. It's like he deserves credit for that. And I'm never going to be like, I welded this
Yeah,
together.
but that's what makes that bike more special. Like
Yeah.
you said earlier, you know, because it's got main drives, you know, it's got Corey's work, and it's moments that you guys shared in time
Yeah.
that, you know, that are tied into that bike. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that, you know, cooperative projects are usually the best projects.
Even with our lowrider ST right now, we were working on a bracket for something, and what I had in my mind of what we were going to do, I brought the bike over to him, and he was like, "Oh no, we got to do it this way." And I mean, small bracket, nothing big, but just his vision on how that comes together and how that looks, and it was mind blowing how much better this new bracket will be for we're relocating the ignition coil.
You can imagine if you stuck to your guns, and be like, no, it has to be my idea.
Right.
I have to be the one to do it, but then it doesn't work. Then that just doesn't evolve. You don't learn, right?
Right.
Exactly.
You don't learn, and you don't become. At some point in my life, I think that maybe I will be capable of creating that bike 1,000% on my own from fabrication to end, and that's a goal that I'd like to achieve in my
Right.
life. But for right now, if I don't work with guys like that, I can never evolve myself. You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, who wouldn't want that opportunity? You know, like if you're going to learn, if you're going to be around that environment to learn who, you know, what better person?
Yeah.
You know, what better person? So I'm excited. I look, we growing up with magazines, and we've had like you have all these hot bike tours, and we don't have that anymore. So this is nice to see this thing fill that void.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, to kind of like wrap this up too. So we got the, you know, Born Free Texas. We got Moto America in Austin this upcoming weekend. There's a lot of really cool events, even still in the last couple months of this year, that I'm pretty excited for.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna be a good time, man. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough to like, you know, it's coming out of the wire. We got tomorrow is 6 weeks until we have to be in Durango, and I'm not in a bad shape, but I'm not necessarily comfortable yet. So, and I'm better than Rennie right now. That's for damn sure. Rennie's got a lot going on. You know what I mean? But no, thank you guys for coming out. It's been fun. The rain kind of messed it up. We finally had rain in here in Dallas, and it outed the power and killed the internet for the last couple hours. I think the internet's good now. But, you know, we were going to go live, but, you know, it is what it is.
Yep.
Thanks again, Jake. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Appreciate the
it.
bottle.
Great time. Yeah.
Jaden,
Boys.
always a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.